looks like we're live, and hopefully all the sound is good. I didn't check that before going live on. I didn't check to see how it was coming through on the stream, but meh. Let me unmute real fast, although that's gonna give some kind of echoey.
I can do a check. Let me mute myself, and then I'll check on the live.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna be echoey for you. It's gonna be echoey for me because my computer, like, it used to not record the live studio settings. It used to only record the sound from the tab that I had open, like the screen that I was focused on. So I could record the Hangouts and I could record the stream that or the whatever the tab is that I was playing the video on, and I could ignore the YouTube Studio. But for some reason, I can't exclude the YouTube Studio anymore. I don't know if that was a change in OBS or if that was a change in YouTube's setup. But so now my OBS records that YouTube Studio whenever I hit play to check the sound, and then I get this goofy loop. Anyway, sound quality coming through okay. All right, we've got a couple of viewers in here. I don't know if it's how many exactly.
Okay. Oh, one was me. I opened in the other PC just in case someone comments.
All right. Yeah.
Because sometimes we miss that.
Yeah, like anytime somebody actually chats, because it's been so long. All right. Actually, before I go to those tabs, I should come back here and talk about the topics for this evening. So topics for this evening, we're going to be talking about. Okay, so as I was making the topic titles, I started to see a trend of song titles. So all of these are sort of a play on song titles, and maybe you can guess which songs or what's the title of the actual song. Okay, first one here, Building a History. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's a what's that lady's name? The dog lady.
Sarah McLachlan.
McLaughlin, yeah. Well, I used to listen to her a lot in the '90s, but then all the commercials came out, and I forgot her name.
Yeah, and now it's just that it's that stupid song from those dog commercials. All right, that was a little too close to the original. It's like, yeah, but that is, I will be talking about 9/11 and some frustrations with what's going on right now regarding that. This one, man, it's gonna sound so weird when I say it. Okay, but yeah, let's see. Because man, I know it sort of rhymes, but not really. Okay. Flix of the Baneful.
Yep, that one I'm not sure.
All right, so yeah, it's supposed to be Lips of an Angel, but you can't say Flix of an Baneful. It sounds so stupid.
Oh, I completely forgot about that song with the raspy voice, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
From man, Hinder. I was about to say, oh,
Hinder.
I forgot the
Yep.
name of the band. No, Hinder. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Hinder.
All right, this one was what started off this song title. You gotta fight for your right to post memes.
That one's
Yeah. All right.
self-mandatory.
And then
What?
this one is, man, this is the one I couldn't quite fit. So this is close enough. Paul Revere.
Paul, like Rand Paul.
No. Yeah, it's I
Riff-
kind of like my original title for this section, but then it's not a song title, or it's not close to it. This is Beastie Boys. Like, so two Beastie
the
Boys.
Paul Revere song.
Yeah.
It's not sure what it was. We'll get to the topic.
You're not sure what the topic is. Okay, so we'll leave that.
Yeah, the song.
Yeah.
The song got one of the coolest bass lines ever. They just reversed it all.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, that explains it. And there's a couple of songs where they do that, where reversing it makes it sound like you're like this doesn't. It sounds off, but you can't tell why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that whole song, all the beats, all the bass is reversed. It
yeah,
sounds like it's, I don't know, like the bass is disappearing, or I don't know, but it's really cool.
yeah. What was the name of that band that does the like piano and they did the song Cable Car? What's the name of that band?
The Fray?
Yeah, the Fray. They have a song where there's piano in it and it's very kind of dark, but all the sound is reversed, and so the piano it's so because of that the piano keys instead of fading away get louder as they go, and it just I don't know why, but it's a very like creepy feeling when you're listening to the song. It's a really creepy song. It's like, man, that effect makes that, yeah. Anyway, I forget which song that was, but yeah, it was like I was like, man, this makes it almost makes your skin crawl, but it's a really good sound, and I was trying to figure out why, and then I was like, oh, that's unnatural. That's why it's so.
Yep, yeah, and there was another song with guitar in it where they did. I think it was a Linkin Park song where they had like one of their guitar riffs put in reverse, but I don't remember what that one was.
Yeah. And it's like with piano, it's so weird because you're used to piano keys. You hit the note and it fades out, and it's like instead it starts out faded and then and you're like, that's not. But it's doing this the
Yeah, it
whole
does the
time.
same
Yeah,
thing in the Follow the Deer song. The
yeah,
bass starts off like coming out of nowhere and then whoop.
yeah. It's really cool, really creepy. Anyway, so getting into the actual topic. So I don't have a video clip queued up for the first topic here, but there was a trend going around on 9/11 where people were posting the hashtag all buildings matter, and I don't have a Twitter account because I got banned. I don't have really any social media applications, but I saw people talking about this, and I'm like, dude, somebody go and shake these morons. Nobody cares about the actual buildings on 9/11. We care because nearly 3,000 people died that day. You ignorant. Yeah.
That was an actual post?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
now are they? Is that a recent post about 9/11, or that was a
Yes.
post that came
No,
out shortly?
that was trending on social media apps where people were posting hashtag all buildings matter on 9/11. And I'm like, you, you
That's really
absolute
ignorant,
you
kind of.
absolute morons. nobody nobody is saying, oh well, these two buildings that collapsed are special. It's like, no, and so there's two factors to this. Not only is it like, hey, these buildings were special and they should be preserved over. No, it was the fact that we got attacked by terrorists on this day.
And
Nobody
thousands died.
nobody is out there saying that we should attack terrorists or that or terrorists should attack all buildings. It's like, what? This is the stupidest. It's a tragedy because it was a terrorist attack. Nobody approves of all the other terrorist attacks. Nobody approves of all of the other damaging the building, like Timothy McVeigh. Nobody's like, oh, that's one I'm in favor of. Nobody. It's the stupidest thing. It's like, or yeah,
Well,
nobody turns a
I think
blind eye to
it's,
other incidents of terrorism. That's
but it sounds like someone's trying to be witty and just come up with a new trending tag. So they're like, huh, we've got all lives matter, so what about all buildings? Except for it completely defeats what you should be remembering about 9/11, the loss of life. It's not the building.
yeah,
Plus, that's relating to another topic of which not everyone does really agree.
yeah.
I
I
mean, not
can't.
that all lives matter, but, certain activist movement.
Yeah, I know. So there was the when the hashtag Black Lives Matter started trending. There was the hashtag All Lives Matter, and there was the hashtag Blue Lives Matter. Hashtag Blue Lives Matter has died down. Hashtag All Lives Matter is still out there, but I don't agree with either the Blue Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter, or the Black Lives Matter. Like I said the first time I heard any of those, I'm like, no, all of these are wrong. All of these are stupid. The only one I can get behind by, and it never caught on, is hashtag Innocent Lives Matter, because that's what's going on here. I don't care if you like. Oh, hashtag Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, what if a black person is trying to rape my sister? Does that life matter? Does his life at this point matter? Hell
Yeah,
no.
well, there's
I mean,
that recent
I
incident.
don't have a sister, but this is in your situation where you're talking about a hypothetical. Like, oh, what?
What was that
Well,
recent incident? Pennsylvania? Is that where that happened?
yeah,
Lancaster, I
yeah,
think, where that guy started chasing the cop with the knife,
yeah,
trying to flash at him. He got shot, and then they started a riot because,
yeah.
yeah, it's ignorant.
Because black man shot by cops. And,
It's just ignorant.
yeah,
Yes,
it's like,
lives
yeah,
matter, but when you throw your life away out of stupidity or because you're breaking the law, not complying, you diminished your own lifespan. You did it yourself.
yeah. I mean, that's a terrible loss of life, but it's kind of like I don't. It's not like I think the officer could have done anything differently.
If
It's
he
like,
was running at me with the knife and I had a gun, I would have shot him too.
yeah,
Regardless, I'm not a police officer. It's just someone charges at you with a knife. That's stupid.
yeah,
You're obviously going to take that as they want to harm you. So yeah, I would agree that
and
innocent lives matter is a good way, but
it's not ever
it
gonna.
doesn't have an activist sway behind it. It's too general and common sense to pick up on
Yeah.
trending stuff. I guess it's too normal thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I don't care if somebody is coming at you with a knife. Doesn't matter if they're black or they're Asian or Indian or Hispanic. It doesn't, or the whitest guy in the world. If they're that he has told you his life doesn't matter by attacking you with a knife, because that. So the main point, the main principle here, as far as the moral concern, is he has shown that he has no moral consideration for anyone other than himself. Therefore, no moral consideration should be given to them. It's the that's the moral. It's like, well, you're not supposed to kill somebody, but if somebody is trying to kill you and your family, well, stopping that one person is the superior moral outcome. And I think we've talked about this on this show before. It's the idea that if there's 10 people in a room and one person wants to kill wants to kill, wants to kill even one person, or let's say like, he wants to kill the other 9, or he wants to kill at least one person. Well, no matter what, however this scenario goes, you're going to be left with 9 people as opposed to 10. The question is do you have that 9 people be the murderer and 8 other people, or 9 people who don't want anybody else dead, and then unfortunately the guy who wanted to kill somebody is dead? That's the best possible outcome, is a situation where, well, the guy who wants to murder someone is out of commission, and the 9 remaining people who don't want to murder anybody are the ones left over. That's the best possible outcome you can hope for. Now, if it's one person who's like, well, I only want to kill one other person, well, then you're left with one person who successfully killed another person because he wanted to, and then eight innocent people. Or you have one person who's like, well, I want to kill all the rest of them, and then you're like, well, you should have 9 people at least. Oh, nope, you have 7. Oh, nope, you have 6. Oh, no, now you're down to 3. Well, now you're down to 1 murderer, and everybody else is dead. That's
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, a good way to think about it.
none of those are good scenarios.
I guess a good way to think about it, and we're not talking about like if you think a murder is justified, you're trying to get revenge or something like that. That's kind of a different story. I'm not really a fan of revenge. I would rather have justice, something like that, serve some time. Again, different story, but if you look at it from a simple aspect, if the instant you choose, I'm going to try and end someone's life, you have just now forfeit the right or protection for your own because they have every right to defend themselves, and
Yeah,
you should always assume they're going to try and defend themselves. So even if you don't like the police, the instant you think, I'm going to fight back, I'm going to
mm-hmm.
attack or shoot or take a knife, you got to assume and probably know they have weapons on them. You are now no longer protected under the law the instant you start attacking a cop.
Yeah,
So just don't.
that's the other crazy thing. It's not only that you should assume they are armed, with a cop,
They
you
are.
know they are. You know that they are. And somebody in this situation where you think all cops are just out to shoot black people, it's like, then why are you charging the cops? Because it's like, well, I already know that I'm gonna be sitting on a park bench and they're gonna come up and just bust a cap in me. And it's like, so then why are you charging at them with a knife? Because if you think that they would attack you while you're minding your own business doing nothing, if you charge at them, not only are they going to attack you, but they're going to get away with it. Right? It's like well, now they've got a wig. Like, if you think that they are racist just out to kill black people, you gave them an excuse to do that. It's such a bizarre mindset. I can't wrap my mind around it. But the fact that the people were trying to compare that, and it's like, oh, see how stupid this all lives matter is because of 9/11. They're trying to wrap that into this time where we're supposed to be remembering all the people who gave their lives, not only in the building, but all the people who died. So nearly 3,000 people died on 9/11 itself, but how many people died, like all the first, the emergency response, like the first responders, the emergency personnel, who also died after the fact, not because
Yeah,
of,
from the collapsing rubble.
yeah, from the, well, I mean, there's people who died in the collapsing rubble, but there's people who died because they had, all the toxic fumes and gas that they were breathing, they got cancer and all that.
Oh yeah.
These first responders got terrible conditions, lived the rest of their life with, debilitating conditions that would not be there were it not for their efforts on 9/11. That's, yeah. That number exceeds the 3,000. I think that number is nearly double. I think over or maybe I'm thinking incorrectly here. Maybe I'm confusing that with another statistic. But there were hundreds of first responders, if not thousands of first responders, that that suffered. Their condition can be tied directly back to their efforts on 9/11. Whatever ended up killing them was directly caused by what happened in 9/11. Um, and yeah, so it's the loss of life that people are concerned, and it's people trying to make it less than that, or trying to be like, oh, this is a stupid thing to bother with, because yeah, comparing it to a building, that's just like, I can understand the sentiment behind Black Lives Matter, and that, oh, this is a terrible loss of life and the person happened to be black, sort of thing. And but who would ever say, oh, buildings matter? Who is, because that's what these people are by hashtag all buildings matter. It's like people are arguing that buildings matter, and like, nobody's making that argument, you utter buffoons.
Yeah, it's not a commemoration of the Twin Towers. It's the Twin Towers incident.
Yeah.
The loss of life. If the buildings collapsed and we didn't lose any life, it would have been a terrible thing. But those buildings could be rebuilt, and it wouldn't be as big of the deal as it is currently. It's such a big deal, and people still go back and have you know remember that date because it was a terrible tragedy.
Yeah.
It was on American soil that lost thousands of lives. Not really much different than Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It was an attack from an enemy, and we lost a lot of U.S. innocent lives.
Yeah. It's the other part that is infuriating about the situation for me is that the response to 9/11 is not to go around burning cities down, and yet the response to they said hashtag all lives matter, and it's like, well, their response for that is to go burn down those cities, and or that one person got shot for saying all lives matter as a response to the Black Lives Matter.
Oh, that lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was out for a walk with her kids or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
no, I don't know if she had her kids. I know she was a mom.
Yeah.
But I don't know if her kids were directly there.
Yeah. But somebody said Black Lives Matter or something like that, and she just shouted back all lives matter, whatever, and they shot her for that. Like, nobody is burning down buildings or killing people in the name of or at least, sorry, I shouldn't say not killing people is a little too generic, because people did die as a response to 9/11, although it was people over in other countries, and and it was military personnel on our side that were doing that. the killing and the destruction there. It was not random people walking around doing. See, I don't like calling it vigilantism. Uh,
It's
I mean,
it's not vigilantism. So
well, that's
it,
kind of some people have kind of it's like, well, if the cops aren't going to do their job, then we need the people need to do the job, sort of thing. I guess there's two aspects of it: the people actually going out and rioting, and the people trying to stop them. Um, but
okay.
but
Yeah, I thought you're talking on the rioting side. No, that's just plain terrible.
well,
It's not
well,
vigilante anything. It's they think they're producing a message, and the only way to
yeah,
get their message across is by causing destruction. That's
yeah.
not
Well, they
vigilantism.
don't.
That's
Yeah,
just
the
nonsense.
vigilante wouldn't be the appropriate term, but they see themselves as freedom fighters or something along those lines. In which case, then they're like, in our minds, setting things on fire and destroying everything is justified because the ends justify the means. Uh,
Yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean by the vigilante side, like that. Kyle,
yeah,
what's his name? But
Rittenhouse.
even then, uh, I don't know. I don't know if he was necessarily going out pulling a Batman and trying to hunt people in the
Well,
night, or it seemed to me he had a friend whose dad owned the business, from the last I heard, and so a group of them said, we need to stop this. They're going to burn down my parents' business.
yeah. So he was asked to come out there to protect the property. The gun was not his, so he didn't cross state lines with the gun to enter the area. Um, but I think he might have to leave the area because he did end up going home and turning himself into the cops. So I don't know if he had the. I would assume he still had the weapon on him when he was in Illinois again. I don't know the full details of that, but yeah, it's just so people are referring to him and some of that as vigilante. But then the other guy, the guy who got his forearm or his bicep blown off. Oh, that was the other super cringy thing that happened this week. CNN did an interview with him, and he was complaining about he lost 90% of his bicep, and it still hurts. And I was the only one who kept his life of the three people that got shot that day. And I'm like, you would have killed Kyle if he had let you. You were actively
He
trying
should
to kill him,
also be
man.
grateful charging a dude with a rifle, and he got away with his life intact.
Yeah. So the other
That guy's
yeah,
thinking is all in the wrong place.
he claimed that he was there just to help, be a medic and to help defend people. And it's like, dude, look at you. We've got video footage. What you're doing is not defending anyone. You are the one being the aggressors. Ugh. It's and CNN and a bunch of the leftists are eating that up and being like, "Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse is such an evil guy." And then that guy who lost his or got shot in the bicep, there's video clips of him going out and rejoining the protest after he lost his bicep or whatever, and he's saying, we got or something along the lines of, "We need to keep the revolution going." It's like, you just claimed to be there defending and protecting people, and now you're talking about being a revolutionary overthrowing the system. Man, it is. It, I. You can put the two clips together and be like, yeah, this guy's full of it, and yet for some reason, journalists and mainstream media, they're like, oh, yep, this, nothing to see here. Not he's on the level. I'm like, dude.
I mean, that's one of the big differences to be able to tell what's actually happening. So, from Kyle's perspective, the words that came out of his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of coincide with the video. You can see why he was there. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with all actions taken or the outcome. It's terrible that anybody got shot. I wish all those kids would just cut it out
Mm-hmm.
because it's on both sides. It was just groups of kids.
Yeah.
His words match what can be seen. Their words do not match what is on the video.
Yeah.
Throwing a Molotov cocktail and then claiming we're here for freedom and protection and this was just a protest, that doesn't equal up.
Yeah.
So if the words aren't matching, the narrative doesn't match what can be testified to or what you can see with your own eyes, something's off. Why lie? What are you covering up?
Yeah. It's no, the crazy thing is like the people who should be there being like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. The people who are their responsibility is to find the truth and be like, they should be like, wait a minute, this story stinks to high heaven. Let's get to the truth. No, all of them are they're complicit in this and they're helping to build his narrative as if he was the good guy who was attacked by this crazy white supremacist something or other. Whatever kind of accusations they're making against Rittenhouse. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the other. So there's something else. It was Twitter and I think Facebook that were banning posts, like banning accounts for saying anything positive about Rittenhouse, and yet you can say whatever you want about this other guy in a, it's like, wait, so you can't say something that is in defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, explain the situation. That all gets taken down, and you could possibly get banned or restricted or something along those lines. But people who are saying support of, the guy who got his bicep blown off, they're calling him a hero, or they can do whatever, they can make cases in defense of him. Nothing, and it's so bizarre. There's the other part of that is the GoFundMe or whatever. GoFundMe suspended the account that was raising funds for Kyle's legal defense, but they're allowing this other guy to have a legal defense on there.
Well, they're allowing multiple accounts for people who have been put in jail for burning down buildings, like caught arsonists, smashing in windows, police arrest them. There's a couple of GoFundMe that are still active, trying to get money for lawyers. And there was even lawyers going online saying, "Hey, we'll be pro bono and help you guys out." Why?
Yeah. Yep.
But big issue I have with that, this has nothing to do with Black lives.
Mm-hmm. There's people
Majority
whose
of the
lives
crowds,
are,
if you've been watching the videos, the crowds are becoming more increasingly just a bunch of middle class white kids.
Yep.
And they're claiming Black Lives Matter while smashing in windows of black owned businesses. How is that proving anything other than your revolution is to burn down the United States and cause total anarchy because you're looking for a socialist / Marxist country to arise from it? They are using Black lives, and even though I don't agree with a lot of what's happened or what they're fighting for, the black guys who have had the cops called because they already have warrants, somebody called the police because they're acting erratic or in the middle of a crime, they get hurt, then people say, "Hey, we need to riot." They're using even those criminals as black pawns.
Oh yeah. That's
So
the
even
the Biden administration,
Lives
like,
Matter.
but 13 of the people on his campaign staff were donating to that to the bailing out those rioters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're using them as pawns.
it's
And
no longer about Black lives. They keep screaming it's for Black lives, but it's not. Initially, when the movement first came out, it seemed like that's what it was about. I still thought it was too militant. I thought it was, a bit on the activist side. So I've always kind of had my eye on the Black Lives Matter movement. But at least when it first started, it seemed that was their general purpose, was trying to fight for black rights and, having that misconception that black youth are being mowed down by the police. That's old news. That's like 4 years ago, BLM. That's like Ferguson, BLM.
Yeah.
This is something else. They say it's BLM, but it's not. In fact, if you don't agree and you are a black person, you can be kicked out by a bunch of white people saying, "Well, you must not care about black lives, and now your life is forfeit. Now your life doesn't matter."
Yeah.
It has gotten just ridiculous, topsy-turvy. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep. The other crazy thing is, so the Biden administration was funding to bail these rioters out, but there's also talks that, like, as we talked about that last week, where somebody's flying these people around because rioters who were in Portland were also in D.C. Somebody's flying them around the country and putting them up in expensive hotels so they can do their riots. And also, Kamala Harris was on. So this is the thing that should be hammered home by I think, like, I don't know if there's a Trump ad about this or whatever, but she was the one saying they will not stop and they should not stop.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? Should not stop? That means you're encouraging them to keep going. And also, Biden and Harris have talked about, oh, these riots won't stop unless Trump gets taken out and we get put in power. And then this is this is something I just saw a couple of minutes before going live. Was it Run Don't Walk? Produce a video, and at the end there, he's got a clip of Kamala Harris saying, "Under a Kamala administration with Joe Biden as president." It's like, what? Did she just admit the thing that we all know, and she said it without like that he's not really going to be in charge? It's going to be the Kamala administration, not the Biden administration. All right, that's what we knew. We just didn't expect you to say it.
Oh, I've been seeing some other pictures, and I don't know if they're real or not. So it looked like there was a campaign bus, and it looked like it said "Tolerate Biden" or something like that. Or
that might be a Photoshop, but that's
no, it wasn't "tolerate" that word specifically. It was something else, but it was kind of like, I know that's all we got, but just go along with it. But it looked like an actual Biden campaign. I think I saw it on Tim Pool's chat, one of his. So again, I don't know if that was real, but he was doing a whole segment on even the Democrats don't really feel like voting for Biden. They're just kind of thinking they should because they don't want to vote for Trump.
Yeah, it's all right.
It was either him or Mr. Reagan.
Yeah, I'm not sure on either of those. I haven't seen that, but that sounds like that shouldn't be real. But this is the year 2020, so maybe it's real. Because there are a lot of things that you're like, there's no way that this would happen, and it's like, oh, it's the year 2020. It's that magic year where all of the stupid things are real. All of the things that you would think, no, that's gotta be satire. That's gotta be fake. No, wait, no, that's legitimate. That's and like, oh, like one of those things is, oh yeah, by the way, Netflix releases a basically I don't know if I can say the word, although most people when they talk about it, they just abbreviate it CP, friendly movie. Yeah, but we talked about that when the poster, because that was making the rounds, and now it's released on, or it was released on Netflix, sometime within the past couple of days, and everybody has been talking about the actual scenes in the thing. So I've got a Tucker Carlson clip pulled up here, but while prepping for this stream, I don't think I actually want to show the clips. I mean, he showed them on his show, and I was like, okay, then I'll use that when I talk about it. But rewatching
Wait, was it clips from the movie?
Yeah, rewatching
I don't know if I would. I was watching somebody else.
Yeah,
what was it?
Yeah, rewatching his, and I'm like, no, this is not something I want to view again, or even subject somebody else to seeing again.
Shoe on head. I know she's a bit loud and kind of on the left side, but every once in a while, some of the stuff's funny. But she did a review and had a couple clips, but most of it was blocked out with giant smiley faces. But even then, you could tell,
yeah,
like the camera was starting to zoom in where you don't want to be looking, and I was just like, ugh. So I had to turn it off. I didn't get through the whole video.
So I'm gonna play a little bit of Tucker Carlson, but not the actual clips he showed from the film itself.
I want to begin this segment with the warning, something we never do, but the footage we're about to show you comes from a film that was released yesterday on the streaming service Netflix. It's called Cuties. We've edited it to obscure the most sexual parts because we have no choice, but it's still over the top and disturbing. As you watch it, remember that our media class, the gatekeepers of entertainment, have no problem with it. In fact, they love it, a sure sign this civilization is in trouble. The New Yorker magazine, which after almost 100 years has become truly a garbage publication, unfortunately, called this film, quote, extraordinary, and said that only evangelicals don't like it. The Telegraph newspaper said it's an important film, quote, in an age terrified of child sexuality.
Yeah, so that's the headline. I was like, those words should not be in a sentence together.
They should be terrified of child sexuality. Why is that even a phrase, child sexuality?
Yeah. I was like, man, that's... yeah.
That that is what people are terrified about. Those words being together and the thought of it. That's
Yeah. That should be the first thing. It's like, okay, anybody who's... That's the, like, okay, left or right, Democrat, that should be the rallying cry. That anybody could be like, okay, yeah, that's over the line. That's not... no. That's... we can disagree about other things. There should not be a disagreement about this. Ugh.
yeah, I don't think there really is much disagreement about it.
Except for in...
Hollywood
yeah.
and the media. That's about the only supporters.
Late Rome, for real. We're not going to show you a portion of what these people are celebrating. But again, it is disturbing, no kidding. These are literally 11-year-old girls.
All right, so I'm going to pause it there. So he said literally 11-year-old girls. That's not technically correct. The age ranges of the actresses in the film, like that were playing the 11-year-old girls, it's anywhere from... well, it said the age range was 10 to 19 in some sources, but most sources are saying 13 and 14, where with the youngest being 13. That it doesn't help the situation, but it's
Is
not...
that the age they are now, or the age they are in the movie? Because I was reading other articles. That's when they got recruited for the movie. Is one of the main stars was 11 when she got signed on for the movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing is we don't know. So I've seen... yeah. So
this isn't a new movie for Netflix.
Yeah.
This has already been out for a bit and was in Sundance.
Which means this might have been filmed 2 years ago, and then they got to go through the production efforts, editing, and all of that sort of stuff. And then once they actually brought it to the film festival, to find somebody to produce or to distribute the film and all that sort of stuff, then it's another couple of months where they work out contracts, and then it's actually available on the streaming service. So it might be that the film, the actual age that they were, was 11 when it was filmed. Although most of the people, so that's the other thing is, even trying to do basic research on this film, you got to put it in incognito mode, make sure you're using a VPN, and you still feel like the FBI may be looking at you for... it's like, dude, I don't want to see the clip. I'm trying to understand the film, and it's no. So I'm trying, because there's so much news articles that tell different stories about what's going on. So I mean, maybe Tucker Carlson's research team is correct in that they were 11-year-old at the time of filming, which would mean, yeah, depending on when their birthdays are and how when different, some of them might be 14 and 13 now, but they were 11 at the time of the filming. Yep. And that's the thing that kind of is like the 11 thing.
But even if they're 13-year-old, 14, that still falls within that CP range. Yes. That's not even...
yeah. So
2 years.
The other part that the part that concerned me the most is when the original, like, people were posting this all over, is IMDb, when they first were talking about they had the warning label regarding this film. They described a scene where one of the the young girls in the film lifts up her top completely. And I was like, well, that right there has got to be... and then IMDb scrubbed that and changed it or whatever. So I was like, wait, was that actually in the film or was that not in the film? And then I heard
it is.
It is?
In Siobhan Head, she actually watched the movie, cut parts off. There was a spot at the end where she went through and read IMDb. She thought it was like an older person doing it, an adult or something, but then she read that it was one of the girls and then showed a clip back where she's like, oh, what is that? At least that's one of the adults. She didn't realize it was one of the kids. So it was in there.
Yeah, okay, so that's the part that...
She didn't show that. She was showing her reaction to that part, but...
yeah. So
yeah, that part's in the movie.
It's in the movie. I don't know if it was an actual if it was an actual 11-year-old that did that, how did Netflix look at this film and be like, oh, yep, nothing wrong here. Let's post it in America, because that right there would be illegal. How does their legal team not know about this? It's a multi-billion-dollar company. How did they not? How did their legal team be like, oh, yep, this will work because it's in French?
Because it won a Sundance Award, and what they're trying to do now, I don't know if it's all of Netflix or if there's certain executives or producers or some of their decision makers that are trying to push for things. Because every once in a while you get another Netflix show, you're like, well, that's an okay show. It seems kind of middle of the road, no politics, good enough. So some of the stuff to come out with is fine, but then every once in a while you just see this terrible.
Yeah.
And this is about the worst of it I've seen so far. So I don't know what their decision making is.
Yeah. So some of those. So there was another foreign film, I believe it was in Spanish, where there is a scene where a 9 or 10-year-old girl is watching TV and then starts grinding on a pillow. And that was the original. It's like, whoa, that's a red flag there. Wait, how did this get? And it's like, well, I guess it's kind of a foreign film, so I could see that, flying under their radar and them not realizing that's in the film. And it was a film that was not available in all regions, that sort of stuff. So I was like, man, yeah, Netflix, this is kind of. So then there was also the other one that keeps being brought up about Netflix. I mean, they've got a lot of offenders as far as like little scenes or like 13 Reasons Why is all stupid garbage SJW stuff that. And there was that other show like Daybreakers or something like that. It was all like, it's like, wait a minute, this.
Is that where it's post-apocalyptic?
Yeah, post-apocalyptic,
like high school,
and it's all like social justice. Like this is, it would be funny if they weren't taking it seriously. And it's like, oh no, wait, they think this is real.
I vaguely remember that. I don't think I ever finished the first season. I got through a couple episodes, and then you're right. It started just turning weird, like high school drama-ish. Completely forgot about the whole premise of post-apocalyptic, and instead they all started acting like, I don't know, stupid. Like weird love triangle stuff and things that it just didn't make any sense at all. No context for it.
Yeah. So there are some series on Netflix that have scenes in there that are just kind of like, okay, you guys don't understand, and it seems like, okay, they had to shove that in there just to appease their probably people at Netflix, but not so much people who watch the show. And then there's the show that seems to me the bigger culprit that is like, okay, whoever's behind Netflix has problems. Is a show called Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
That's the that's the animated series about teen prepubescents going through puberty and all of the crazy. And they're like, yeah, it's that one. For some reason, I've heard a lot of people say good things about it. Like, it's funny. And I'm like, dude. The entire premise of it, I'm like, yeah, I can't even watch it to see if it might have some joke. I'm like, dude, the whole thing is disgusting.
The premise is about kids who are starting to go through puberty, and so they have like these monsters that kind of push them into doing dumb decisions or more sexual decisions because it's like a drive, and they're not quite sure how to talk about it or what to do about it. So the way they're drawn, it almost looks like elementary schoolish. I think they're supposed to be in middle school.
Yeah.
I saw a couple episodes. Some stuff's funny. Ultimately, it's It's not as bad as you're thinking. They don't actually depict. Well, I don't think they even have like cartoon nudity or anything like that per se. But some of the topics are a little funny. Most of it, nah.
Yeah, it sounds like a bunch of gross out humor, and I mean, from the trailers and stuff, they talked a lot about periods and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, nope.
Honestly, I thought Superbad did a better idea at portraying like adolescent youth.
Yeah.
Trying to hook up and go to parties, but they didn't really. There was one scene with the McLovin dude, but I don't think they actually showed anything. It was kind of like a before clip away, she walks away. I don't even remember what happened. So they weren't actually showing activity. It was more of the thoughts behind people's.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a number of films kind of like that, and that's why here's the other.
Sure, Dazed and Confused had elements of that, but they didn't get to a terrible spot.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about one review that I think did well, I mean, obviously, again, my personal bias. So Barbara for You Two just had a video about it today where she was comparing Cuties to a film called 13 and another film called Trade. But before I get to that, Ben Shapiro had the most... I can't believe he had this take on this film. Because he basically said that I'm not going to make a judgment on this film sort of position. So he did watch the film. That's what his claim is. He watched the film and he said the overall message of the film I can understand, but whether this went over the line in implementation, you know, he said they may have crossed the line in the implementation, but he wasn't going to make a firm stance on that. I'm like, wait, what? Did Ben Shapiro just say kind of like, well, I don't know if this crosses that line, because he referenced a film called A Clockwork Orange, and in that scene there's a whole bunch of brutal scenes, and the entire film makes you feel like your skin is crawling. And
Like
that's the intent
gross.
of it.
Like
Yeah.
I need to take 2 showers after. Yeah.
And that's the intent of the film, and I think it achieves that intent. But what he didn't bring up in his analysis of that is, while A Clockwork Orange shows scenes that disturb you, no one was actually murdered or raped during the filming of the scene. Whereas the film Cuties, whether they are 11 or 13 or 14 during the time of filming, you can't escape the fact that they are gyrating on stage in front of crowds, not just in front of the camera and the camera crew or whatever it is, or not just doing a photo shoot and all that. No, this is in front of the crowds, and also present like the actual children are presented now nationwide on a streaming platform. It's like, if the point was to talk about sexual exploitation of children, you just did that. You didn't...
Yeah. So that's I think what most of the negative response is, because I know Ted Cruz wrote a letter to the Department of Justice and to Bill Barr,
Yeah.
basically describing that, saying here was the supposed intent, and put some information about it, and he says, but the issue is in whether filming that intent that they actually did potentially break any laws or cross the line, and just because this is what we see in the final editing doesn't mean that's all of the clips that were there. What were these girls subjected to? When did the filming start? There just needs to be an investigation as to what surrounded this film, because it is so borderline to actually be in that CP range, or to be considered part of that somebody should at least take a look and find out.
Yeah. There's the
So
other,
that part I agree with.
The other thing, they've asked them to investigate people who were involved with it, and it's like, well, if they were willing to work on this film, make sure that these guys don't have something in their background that, or because like you were saying, there's scenes in the film where the girls are dancing on stage, and the camera deliberately pans in to their private parts.
Yeah.
And it's like,
dancing scenes, it zooms in and it just kind of sits there. So fortunately, all you could see was a couple of arms and shoes and stuff. The little clip I saw on what's her name, Shoeonhead's view, because she put a giant face blocking out 85% of the screen. But even then, you're like, I can see what the camera's focusing on. Why? If you're trying to, you don't have to show that, and you can still get your message across.
Yeah.
About exploitation of children. You can still have younger kids act in movies, get to the point right before it becomes crossing the line, and then it's assumed or it's known what's happening.
Yes. And so that's why I was looking for examples of this, and a couple of things came to mind. So there's a few films where they do depict nudity of a character that is underage. And one of the films that immediately came to mind was a film called Broken Flowers with Bill Murray. And I saw the film. There's a scene in there where the young daughter of, just for no reason whatsoever, walks out completely naked through the living room, waves at him, and then just continues walking. And I was like, I paused the film. I'm like, there's no way I just saw what I just saw. How did this film get made in the U.S.? Because that would be. And then I looked up as like the IMDb, and I was like, okay, she was over the age of 20 at the time of the filming. She just looks really young. Okay, that it's not. I mean, it's not it because the idea was it made him feel uncomfortable, and he just gets up and walks. He leaves because he was waiting for the mom. This happens. He's like, all right, I'm out of here. that's the appropriate response. So it achieved the effect without actually sexually exploiting a minor. It was just somebody who looked really young. And there's other films that have done similar things where, the character is supposed to be 13 or 14, but the actual actress is, 16, 17, 18 sometimes. Now, older films, like the original offender on this is a film also from the guy who did Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick, and was drawing a blank. I was almost going to say Coppola. No, Stanley Kubrick, one of his earlier films is a film called Lolita, in which a 14-year-old actress gets involved in a sexual relationship with an older man. Now, in the film, to the best of my knowledge, there was more than likely there were scenes filmed where there was nudity, and it was cut out in the final product due to censorship, which thankfully we had censors at the time that actually acted on this sort of stuff. So what actually came out in the final product was scenes that were kind of a little disturbing, were kind of across the line, but the actual filmed product, there was no childhood nudity for this 14-year-old. So that's kind of where the censors originally took their stance, but like, yeah, this is over the line. So unfortunately for that film, I like Stanley Kubrick's directing, but obviously this was an area where he was kind of, a moralless monster. Because the act that this happened during filming, or is presumed to happen during filming, and you're like, yeah, that's over the line.
Yep.
And then again, Hollywood's kind of always been like that, and that's the other. Bryan Singer is one of those names. Even though I really liked X-Men. I really liked Usual Suspects, but Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer are both offenders in this regard, as far as being child predators. Both of them preying on young men. And there's a film called Apt Pupil that Bryan Singer directed, where he wanted a scene of teenage boys naked in the showers, and was trying to get legal to sign off on all that, and was turned down. And it's like, so what he ended up filming was older boys pretending or standing in as body doubles for the younger men in that scene. And he's like, dude, even that is like, dude, what the hell? And then Bryan Singer is now in all kinds of trouble because apparently he had like rooftop parties where there were teenage boys that were being sexually exploited.
See,
Like
that's what
stuff.
you got to kind of wonder, because there are ways of portraying terrible activities without actually showing terrible activities. So you could portray a rape scene, have the victim be there and the guy, yes, they're both actors, and then it cuts away, you can hear some screaming or so. I think that, what was it, like, I remember there being a horror movie. No, never mind.
Well, so this is where I saw Barbara's review, and I'm like, okay, thank you, because this film 13, it skirted the same kind of issue that was being talked about in the Cuties, in that these are young girls that are kind of rebelling and experiencing, kind of experimenting and trying to define their sexual whatever. But in the film, they don't actually show any sex scenes. There's hinting at them trying in more adult situations, like going to nightclubs and trying to sneak in with fake IDs and that sort of stuff. But nothing graphic is shown, and as far as I know, behind the scenes and all that sort of stuff, everything was on the level. It was a actual coming of age story that ends with the girl, the main character of the film, kind of in a situation where you're like, oh, yeah, all of this was a mistake. And that's the kind of the ending you're like, okay, that's that's the message, is she didn't realize what she was doing, and now she was in a situation where she shouldn't have been, and at the end she left feeling hollowed out by the experience of like, oh, now you understand it was all a mistake, and this is what you're
Oh, that's a
what,
good
yeah.
point. I heard that.
So
So for a spoiler for the ending of this, have you heard like how it's supposed to end? I've never heard
supposedly,
anybody talk about it. Like,
yeah,
do they just go
okay,
to a competition
no,
and they win it and
so
everything's good, or?
supposedly the ending. So so this is the ending I've seen in articles that were writing about it. Although none of the commentators I've heard, like Ben Shapiro and all of that, don't really talk about it. At least, if they did, I wasn't. I missed them talking about the actual ending. Supposedly the ending is the girl was on stage during the final or whatever, and then for some reason is like, oh yeah, all of this is wrong, and then ends the performance, and then later is just puts on a sweater and goes jump roping or something like that. And you're just like, what? So that was the ending I saw or read in one of the articles talking about the film. I'm like, and that's supposed to show that all of this was bad. That doesn't explain anything. I don't know
Yeah.
what the so here's the other aspect I haven't heard people really hammering on, is the fact that so the authoritarian side that is presented in this film is the main character's parents are Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones being repressive, and that's what she's rebelling against to join this dance group. And
Well, then, if that's the case,
yeah,
wouldn't that prove that the repressive side, if that's the way it's ending, was correct to begin with? And then
that's
that ultimately the children said, no, this is not right. We want to go back to being kids. And that the quote unquote repressive parents were right all along.
that's what it from the what the director described about the film and what other people who are defending the film try to portray it as. That's kind of the message that would come, and is like, wait a minute. So if this was a Christian or strict Christian household, the message of the film would not be, oh, all this degeneracy is wrong, and maybe going back to being a child and not is the I mean, granted, this is kind of putting a hypothetical out there that can't be proven, but my theory is a lot of these people who are defending the film, it's because it's they're it's Muslims, okay, then it's fine. It's fine
Yeah.
if the moral was ultimately this girl should kind of, it's okay to be oppressive as long as the oppressing religion is Islam. But if it was
Well,
Christians,
I
they'd
would
be like,
say,
"Oh, how dare that be the message of the film, is that she goes back to Christianity and stops being a whore." It's like, I don't know. I doubt
then I
all
would
of these
say,
articles would be defending the film if that were the case.
what if, and I'd probably like to stand more on the side of being justified after having viewed something or have an opinion. Kind of like I can't review a product, I've never tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I've only heard people talking about it. So, judging from what you've read about the ending, I could see why they're saying they're pushing it. Maybe if they were trying to put forward this view of hypersexualization just at the end for the girls to realize, turns out we didn't want it. I can see if that was an attempt and
Yeah.
what the director is saying, if that was original intent. I can kind of agree with it. Again, I can't really disagree without having viewed the film, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. So
Just
yeah.
I saw, no thanks, but
Yeah.
I don't like how intense these small clips that I've been exposed to just really put those little girls out there. Just,
yeah. So this is where I'm gonna
I think
kind
it
of,
could have been done a lot more tastefully
yeah.
without exposing those girls to that type of viewership or that type of,
Yeah. So this is where I pivot
yeah.
back to Barbara. So not only did she reference the film 13 that has a similar message, although done in a much more, they don't show anything, but there's a lot of hints at stuff, and the ending is like, okay, yeah, it's showing the terribleness of that situation. But there's another film she mentioned called Trade, which I'd never heard of.
Trey.
Trade. It's about child sex trafficking. So it's not a documentary, but it is a kind of like a dramatization based on real world events. And so what they did in that film is they did have a younger actress who was, I think, 13 at the time of filming, but there is no explicit scene. Everything is implicit. Whenever there is something going on, it shows like the girl's face and being sad, or like the setup and then a cutaway, and you know what happened. Or it'll play, like you were talking about, it goes to a curtain. So that particular film, it achieves the same effect of, granted, I've never seen the film, I'm going off of what she was talking about. It achieved the effect of haunting you with what you know is going on, but what is never actually captured on camera. You know enough about the situation to be like, oh, that's what's going on. All right, and you either feel guilty or you feel, that, like, oh, I want to break some skulls type of thing. So that film had a younger actress and didn't put the actual actress in any kind of compromising situations. So it was better. And the way... So this was why I'm like, man, that was the best take on the Cutie films I've heard, because her explanation is, Cuties is a classic example of the ends trying to justify the means and failing.
Yeah.
It's like, man,
That's what it kind of sounds like.
It sounds
like
overall, the end was to show, to talk about childhood sexuality, and this is a problem, but it did everything and then it didn't achieve the end. And it's like, maybe all of what was on screen would be justified if the end was like how terrible this is and how demoralizing it is for actual children.
Yeah, again, I don't know the justified part, because if there were actually minors, like, I don't know, whoever pulled their shirt up in the movie, if that wasn't actually minor stuff, then that sounds borderline, like, right in CP.
So that's the other thing, is the ends justify the means is never an excuse. Like, because that was kind of what the Nazis were playing. Like, well, the ends justify the means, right? That's like...
But no, I see where we're going with that. So all I can do is, I don't know the director. All I can do is take their word that that's the attempt they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the perception given, and judging even just from the few clips, those didn't seem necessary to convey that idea of exploitation.
Yeah.
I think there should have been a much tasteful way when dealing with young children to pronounce that, or to do it rather than just film it and show.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people are arguing about, or frustrated about.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go as far as to trash the director, just bad decisions.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think she has realized what was going on, and she's a first-time director, and it sounds like she is bad at it.
Well, there is one other aspect that I find. So I will put this, kind of flip it 180 degrees, because I've been seeing a lot of tweets where they're now proclaiming that it is not only is it right-wing, but that it's racist and that it's sexist because this is a woman director and because she's black and because she's French. Like, nobody's talking about, nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's fine. If she's a woman, if she's a director, nobody cares if she's a black director. That wasn't any of the argument.
When the original
she just happened to be those things, and those happened to be in the news. The New Yorker, which posted that article in defense, put that information out there.
Yeah, when the original poster came out, nobody knew anything about the director. We saw the poster and was like,
just a bunch of girls.
WTF?
It's BBMA, and I was like, what? No.
Yeah.
Why is this mature adult with a bunch of little girls? What is that?
Nobody saw that poster and was like, I wonder what the director is like. And then went to the director's IMDb page and saw the director and was like, a black woman. All right, now I hate this poster.
So my interpretation would be, let's take the director at their word.
Yeah.
But I think she wanted to portray as realistic of the exploitation side, possibly to convey it. But that's not a very good idea, especially when you are dealing with underage actors, because that's basically exploitation in and of itself, in order to try and demonstrate or be a satire or mockery or a pointing out of it. You're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's the
so
that's
I
the
think
other
that's
side
where it went wrong.
So I feel a little more lenient for the director and the actors, and because it is French. and that. Okay, thinking of some other French films that I saw that were kind of made my skin crawl because of certain scenes. I liked the director Besson. What's his name? Luc Besson. You know, Fifth Element.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had a film called The Professional, and he's a French
Oh,
director. And The Professional.
the original French. What was it called? Leon something.
Yeah.
It was The Professional is a remake with
Yeah.
Jean. Man, what is that guy's name? And then
John,
Natalie
John
Portman.
Reno. Yeah. And Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So that was
even,
a remake.
Well, even the remake had some scenes. You're like, dude, this is over the line, but it's French or from a French film crew.
Yeah, but forever being like walking around naked or any of that. I mean, it had an odd tension because he's an older man.
Yeah.
But it became more of a film of. I never got the feeling he was trying to sexually exploit. More of
it wasn't
took her on as
his part. It was on,
kind of like a father-daughter relationship type thing, but from assassins.
No, but so in the film, she kissed him, and it was like, ooh, what just happened there? That was a very uncomfortable scene. And it's like, I kind of understand why, but she's misreading the situation because, you know. And she
the
wrong impression.
You could tell there were undertones of
yeah.
Yeah. So it was misrepresentation from both sides, but neither was trying to hurt the other.
Yeah. So
you could get it, and I can see where it was going. I don't remember the kiss part, but I do remember that tension being there. But I don't remember it ever just being out there where I was like, oh, gross, and turned it off.
Sure, that was the
I thought it was a good movie.
I've seen both the French and so it might have been the French version where there was either way. I was like, ooh, okay, that was a good movie. Other than that, and they just clip that little section. I get the. So there's another film, a French film as well, with Ron Perlman, The City of Lost Children. And
I've heard of it.
It's kind of a similar kind of relationship where he becomes kind of the protector father figure, but there is a scene in the film where they are huddled up together for warmth because it's really cold, and so she's complaining about the cold or whatever, and then he takes his mouth and starts putting it on her back, and I was just like, the immediate sensation is like, what just happened to this film? Now, she asks him what he's doing, and his response is, me radiator, or something along those lines. Because he's basically breathing warm breath on her back, and I was like, okay, but that's still... What the hell, France?
Yeah, well...
it was one of those scenes where it was like, yeah, that shouldn't have been in the final product. What the hell, France?
So, overall, having awkward stuff like that in the film, a lot of times, it can be a bit much. There was a film that I watched, both the original and the remake, where it was just as terrible, but it fit right in this Old Boy.
Yeah. So, that's...
One got into the whole incestuous part, but it wasn't done because of... I mean, somewhat, yes. And if you're the viewer and knowing what's going on, and then you just, how did this, what a giant mess. But the movie, and even the way that was portrayed, it fell right in line with the story. So the story progressed kind of as it should have, while not exploiting any young actresses or actors or doing anything like that on either the original or the remake. I think it's mostly down to, there's movies, and they can touch on some almost taboo subjects or some things that'll make your skin crawl or just don't seem right, but
it's a cultural
the main thing is
difference.
the exploitation of children, and then showing that on film is, I think, what everybody's up in arms on, because even if you're anti, CP stuff or anti-pedo stuff, you're flashing a bunch of young girls doing these provocative things. That's kind of that's like dumping candy in a bucket and saying, you're going to rot your teeth. You shouldn't be eating this. You shouldn't. This is terrible for you, while handing it over.
Yeah. And so I'm, those were just examples where French films, they do have some stuff that we would be like, okay, that was That was creepy.
Yeah, I mean,
Or at
they
least that
kind of
was the
dabble
sense
in
I
those
got
areas.
from. Yeah. So French film, what you just mentioned, Old Boy, which is from a Japanese director, and if you go to Japan, their views on sexuality are also kind of like, what the hell, Japan? Especially in anime, where there is a theme,
Yeah,
or
they got that
there's
trope.
a term for lolly,
Yeah, you're right.
which comes from Lolita, right? It's
Yeah,
lolly tunes,
that's
or the
true.
lolly character, where it's usually a character who's portrayed to be kind of a prepubescent, and you're like, well, she's really older than that. It's like, yeah, but she looks like a prepubescent girl. That's the problem.
She's
And
5.
also, yeah,
She's like she's 12. That's weird.
they also have the opposite, where it's like, okay, she's supposed to be an 11-year-old girl and she's stacked. It's like, no, what's wrong with you, Japan?
Yeah, I don't know,
And there's also
but
the ladyboy thing that's in a lot of animes. It's like,
if
man, there's also the sibling thing, and it's like, why is that a trope in, in Japanese anime?
so
Stop it.
yeah, again, that I don't know. And yes, there are foreign countries where certain concepts about
Yeah,
that type of stuff is a bit different. But
yeah. So
if it's
I can,
animated, then it's animated, and
yeah,
there's no actual children there. And so if you choose to watch it, that's kind of up to you. You're into
yeah,
that
yeah.
questionable, but that's up to you. But when there's actual live children,
Yeah, so
and
that's where I'm like, okay, I can kind of understand there's a cultural difference, and there's not the same sort of cultural norms in Japan and France. My main problem is the people at Netflix. I'm like, wait, you saw this, yeah, sure, it won an award at Sundance or something like that, but your executives, you saw the film and were like, oh, we need to put this on our platform in the U.S. I'm like,
yeah,
that's where I draw the
any
line. It's like,
mention of talking with the director and saying, "Hey, did we like the message of your film? You know, you're wanting to portray this exploitation, and then later on show how they decided they didn't want it or walked away, or that's great. Is there a way we can cut certain parts? You have other parts, other things you filmed, where we can fill in some time, so make it a full movie, so get the point across, but not show a bunch of what is stated as 11-year-olds. You know, they're portrayed as 11-year-olds, could be anywhere from 11 to 14 or whatever you said the age range is,
yeah,
but kind of gyrating on themselves in front of old dudes staring at them. I think there was one where somebody mentioned they walked into a bar and then one of them started twerking on an old guy,
yeah, it's
or
so
so I'm just like,
there's a scene where they're trying
why?
to sneak into something, and there's a old guy, and they start dancing in front of him, and then he's got the creepy perv smile on his face. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that it.
And so there's another scene that I didn't hear anybody talking about, but this is unfortunately a clip that I found when I was doing my search, and I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't seen this, but it's a scene that it doesn't show anything explicitly, but out of all of the scenes, I thought this was the most, like, the worst scene possibly in the film. Is a scene where she's got a cell phone that's not her cell phone for some reason, and I don't know if it's a sibling or somebody else, and he's trying to get his phone back from her, and for some reason she then begins to start unbuttoning her attire, and he just looks at her like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then she runs off into the bathroom, and while she's in the bathroom, she then takes a picture inside of her undergarments and then posts that online. And I was like,
Oh, I heard about that.
I'm like, that's so they didn't show the picture or anything like that. They just show her hitting publish and all.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So,
sure that would have just been straight up illegal.
but
Like,
yeah,
not even just in the
show,
U.S.
yeah, they didn't show anything, and that it wasn't graphic, but that was very, very disturbing. I'm like, okay, I can understand why that was in the film, and had the director focused on like, oh, yeah, this is the problem, is that these younger girls don't understand what's going on, that they're being sexualized, and they're doing this because they're following what they see, this is, WAP, Cardi B and all of them talking about their, and doing, dressing like prostitutes and talking about their genitals and dancing like this. And it's like, yeah, this is the message you're teaching these little girls, obviously. So that scene that I think achieved the effect the director was kind of going for, and you don't need the other actual. It's like, yeah, I don't think the girl was actually exploited during that scene, and that shows the kind of the mindset where she doesn't understand, and she's doing things that should, well, I would say even adults shouldn't do. But if you're going to participate in that, you should be an adult.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
That is kind of what we've been discussing, is how can you portray that while not actually having to show.
Yeah. So that I think that was the most disturbing scene, at least from the clips and images that I saw, and I was like, okay, that achieved the effect. But again, at the end of the film, as far as I know, there is no devastation that you would expect to occur. It's just
they just decided to quit.
I'm gonna quit the dance crew. Just put on a sweater top or whatever, and then go jump rope. And it's like, wait, what? There's no negative consequences. There's no that. Like there should be some kind of stakes at play to point out the message of this is for adults and not for me. I should wait until I'm 18 or wait till I'm an adult before I start doing anything along these lines. Hopefully never. But if you are going to do them, be an adult.
Yeah. I suppose so. I mean, just story continuity, that makes sense. A drug user, that's usually what happens. They hit rock bottom. They've lost their friends, their family, possibly health issues. That's what has to stir them out of their for the thing that's destroying them. Yeah. So is there a catalyst that changes their view, or did they just say, young girls they're inundated with all of this, they're exploited, and then they'll just grow out of it?
Yeah. And so
that's a pretty terrible message.
Well, then just let it happen. Because there's not the weight. So two films that did achieve this, and again didn't exploit their actors and actresses. So one of them is a film called Seven. Again, man, can't avoid Spacey in Hollywood apparently. But yeah, it's one of the most unsettling films I've ever seen. I like David Fincher as a director. That's a film I saw once, will never watch again. But I remember it, and it's graphic, and it leaves you with the feeling, okay, it achieved the effect it was going for of making you feel just disturbed and dirty afterwards. I don't know what exactly the message is. Serial killers who do these sorts of things, they're pretty evil. I don't know what the actual takeaway was supposed to be.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
There was one other film where I remember that type of message. What was it, 8mm?
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, that's another, okay.
Terrible. I'm not, not necessarily terrible as in Nicolas Cage or Joaquin Phoenix, but the overall message what are those called? The murder films or something?
Snuff films.
Yeah. But I actually did go take a shower after. I was just like,
you just feel so gross afterwards. Yeah, so that's another film that it effectively achieved the feeling it was going out for, and thankfully in that film there was at least some kind of comeuppance at the end, and you're like, okay, I feel a little bit of relief, not enough to overcome, but there's a little bit of a comeback at the end, and it's like, so
I mean, it's a way to portray the seedy underbelly of society and the terrible things that can happen on all kinds of counts, while showing enough to get the point across, but not enough to make it an actual product that you're trying to describe against. And I think it would be a cautionary tale. So maybe just to take the middle of the road view, and let's take the director at her word.
Before you go on that, there's one other film. So the one other film that has that is Requiem for a Dream. I like Darren Aronofsky. Saw that film. It's one I watched it once. I can't watch it again. It is because it makes you feel so dirty, and so all of the characters at the end are devastated. There is not one good, and if I can't understand why anybody would watch this film and then do drugs after that. It's like you just saw everybody is destroyed.
It's ruined their lives. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of message, that's the one that I think achieved it the most successfully, because it's like, yeah, Even the grandmother in the film is like, yeah, drug overdose, drugs addiction. It never goes right. It's terrible all around. There is no good outcome. Okay, message made loud and clear, and it was done in such a good way. It's like like the film is masterfully made, but it's so unsettling. I can't watch it again.
Yep. So I would say after this discussion, I think I'll make my claim on the Cuties movie. I don't want to watch it. I've got
Yeah.
no anticipation. I'm not even going to do it for a review.
Yeah.
But I would take the director at her word in what was attempted and just say, if that's the message you're wanting to get, I'll take you at your word. That's what you're trying to do. But I think you could have done it a lot more tactful to not expose actual young girls to that type of on-screen presence. I think there were better ways to go about conveying the message and still getting that message across. So maybe not being so hyperactive and, hey, again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say. But the slight clips I have seen have turned me off to where I don't even want it to pop up on my recommended in Netflix. And I'm almost wondering, do I follow along and cancel? Because I've heard Netflix has lost like $9 billion.
Yeah, so I am a part of that group. I canceled my subscription because I was like, yeah, this is. So when I first saw the post, I'm like, man, this is bad. But after hearing some of the reviews and some of the scenes that were in it, I'm like, the fact that Netflix executives saw this and okayed this and put it on their, and even after the original backlash, they would be like, they didn't pause, they didn't hesitate. Instead, they're trying to defend. I was like, I understand the intention, but cue the meme. Mission failed. We'll get them next time. It failed to achieve its effect, and it also I can't see it being as anything other than exploitation. And it's like, yeah, the aim seems to be a good one or good intent, but then good intentions pave the way to hell. But the executives at YouTube or at Netflix just put up the original poster with the caption, whatever, like, oh, that was a mistake, sorry, our bad. Didn't pause to be like, wait a minute.
Oh, actually,
there's all this backlash. Maybe we shouldn't actually release this film, or maybe we should delay it. No, they just pushed ahead and tried to defend
question
it.
for you. So I saw the original poster, and it looked like there's 4 girls kind of running down some steps just in a public area.
Yeah,
and
that was the original French poster.
Clothing or what? It didn't make much of it. It's just some girls walking around outside. I think they had like the layers of clothes, like they just went shopping and put it all on at once. And so you can't really pick up any cues on what the film is about that. It's just like a film about some girls.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Netflix intentionally put a U.S. promotional poster of 4 pretty scantily clad, obviously in provocative twerking poses as the poster? Why did that happen? And that wasn't the director that did it.
No.
That wasn't the original film crew, and that's not what was presented as some. Why did Netflix do that?
See, that's the part where, so that combined with the fact that after the backlash, they still decided to release the film, and then now that they're they're still defending the film, and it's like, no, at some point you gotta be like,
I mean, honestly,
okay, this is a problem, we should remove this and double check that, and we should, but they haven't done that. Instead, they're taking the other. So as far as the releasing of the poster, had they actually released this film under the original poster, it's very likely no one would have known about this film.
I think it was under the radar for a bit until some people started watching that on, maybe a more a conservative or stricter base on things and said, yeah, I see what the movie was going for, but this has some disgusting scenes in it. And it would have slowly crept up to realize what it was. So either somebody as an executive took a clip direct from the movie and said, I really don't want it here. But if we put a poster, we're going to stir up controversy ahead of time, or 2, the exact opposite and much worse.
That seems more likely, given the fact that they're like, okay, we're going to pull the trigger on this, and we're going to defend this, and we don't care if we're losing billions right now. We stand by our director, and we stand by this film. It's like, yeah. The other side of
Yeah,
this
just
is the CEO of
oop.
Netflix was on CNN twice in the last week, and not once was this ever brought up. It's like, what? This is what kind of? When was the last time the CEO of Netflix was on a mainstream media platform prior to this week? And he's on this week and mentions nothing about this controversy. Like the biggest controversy that I can think of. It's so it's at the moment. I mean, well, there's a lot of controversies and insanity going on, but this was like unavoidable. Everybody was talking about this at least, in some form or fashion. It's I doubt the intent was that they would, they were trying to get this actually removed off of Netflix, because
I'm
after the
thinking
outcry,
it.
they
So,
barreled through, they doubled down on it.
well, no, hear me out. I am now getting a third idea or third thought on this because there was the original description,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was the description that Netflix kind of reproposed coming to US Netflix along with the new poster. And what that description was talking about an 11-year-old girl trying to find her sexuality
Mm-hmm.
while under an oppressive patriarch or in an oppressive homestead or something like that. It painted a picture of a girl trying to find her own expression and escape under a an old restrictive or what's the right word I'm thinking of? Repressive viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I'm wondering, was part of the promotional team watching that and thinking this was actually trying to promote that for young girls and it's a good thing? Did they perhaps misread the film, came up with the poster and said, yeah, that doesn't explain enough. We need to show how bold and
Yeah.
emboldened and proud these
So
girls are.
yeah.
Picked one of the most provocative clips from the movie and put that.
So I think it was a feminist. I don't think it was a pedo person. I think it was a radical feminist who was like, yeah, girl power, that wrote that original description and thought, oh, this is all good. That's what I think the
Yeah,
original.
I'm almost wondering if
But
that's what happened. Because,
yeah.
again, we were talking about the boys earlier, and there's that scene where, what's her name? The kind of all Christian country girl,
Mm-hmm. Starlight?
and they give her a whole new
Is it
outfit.
Starfire? Starfire. Starlight,
This
Starfire. I can't remember. One of those.
Starlight.
Yeah, one
Yeah,
of
like
those
the
is a
poem,
Marvel.
Starlight, Starbright.
Yeah, yeah.
But they gave her a whole new outfit, and it was super skimpy,
Mm-hmm.
no legs, high heeled, high knee high boots, and like massive cleavage and whatnot. And she's looking at it like, I'm not wearing that. And the people in advertisement were sitting there saying, this shows your empowerment, that you're not afraid to be the
Yeah,
bold woman that you are. This is a feminist look. And I was like, what
yeah.
does that mean? And
Yeah,
I know it was satirical in the show
yeah.
because they were actually pointing out how absurd it is, but that was just resonating with me a few days ago. And when I watched that again, I was like, what does that mean how is that empowering, like flashing your body off like that?
So that's the weird feminist. It's her body, it's her choice, but also don't objectify me. And you're like, I don't know how how both of those are feminist perspectives. It's like, well, if you wear this skimpy outfit that shows off everything and leaves nothing to the imagination, how aren't you objectifying yourself? It's so that's what I think the original poster was, just clueless and didn't realize. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, this shouldn't be happening to little girls. They never crossed their mind. That's what I think happened in the original. And then, other people were like, oh, yep, we're signing off on this. Looks good to us. Sounds great. Like, the fact that it went through multiple people and all of them, checked yes without... That's the part that's so bizarre to me. And then there was all of this backlash, and they're like, nope, looks good to us. It's only those crazy evangelicals who could possibly object to this film. And it's like... How can you, and then they're like, oh, well, you're going to keep pushing it. Hey, we're getting a lot of cancellations specifically because of this film. You think we should change anything? No, let's have a YouTube video where we interview the director and talk about how this film is super feminist. Like, how,
Yeah.
at some point, it's like, okay, I can the first I can see as being clueless or being ignorant or not seeing and not, because you're such an ideologue that you don't understand that. Oh, wait a minute, this is wrong. You don't understand that. But then the fact that it keeps happening, and it's like, is there nobody at that company who is like, okay, guys, put the brakes on this. We obviously made a misstep. Let's correct it. Nobody has done that. Nobody has said that. Oh, this was a mistake. Nobody has.
Yeah. Then I think I may have to hop on the Netflix bandwagon and just end my subscription because that.
Yeah.
Some reports I have been hearing from Disney because they were kind of heading down the same route.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not sure if they completely fixed internal stuff, but on the Star Wars front, from what I heard, is Kathleen Kennedy is completely being sidelined. I don't know if she's being let go or just stuck on something else, non-Star Wars. But that whole the Force is female and this empowerment, whatever, they lost billions.
Yeah. So they're
And the
definitely
CEOs, the board of executives is like, we bought this to make money. You F this over. We're going to start just making films again, just
yeah.
non-political, you know, the source I heard from was using the term SJW. It is getting a little dated. I think it still applies, but it's non-ideological about these odd ideas that have come about in the last few years. So I think Disney is trying to switch back to older Disney model to get more towards like the golden age of cartoons. They're better family-friendly movies, like Pirates of the Caribbean. Everybody remembers that until Disney ran it to the ground after like 6 of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to just produce awesome content, just bam, bam, Disney hit after Disney hit.
Yeah.
And then Pixar signed up, and they're like, even more, bam, bam, bam. They're just on fire until they went down this stupid route. So I think if Disney can pick it up, perhaps a little bit of the, I guess, self-censorship, or not self-censorship, but yeah, just people fleeing until they fix themselves. Maybe that's what Netflix needs, is a little slap in the face saying, you can put content out there and you can have some controversial ideas, but you need to stop with this whole promotion of crazy ideology that most people don't want.
Yeah. So yeah, there are obviously some people who have their heads on their shoulders at Netflix, but they apparently maybe getting a project approved, like The Witcher or the Umbrella Academy, but there's not enough of them. It definitely seems like the company keeps continually headed down this, super woke path, and I'm like, man, they haven't woke up yet, or they haven't unwoke themselves yet. They're not going to learn, and I think that it's going to keep going the way it's going unless they either go out of business or unless they lose so much they're like, okay, now we have to actually clean up internals, because that's what it seems like happened with Disney. Like you were talking about, there's a lot of talk about internal restructuring at Disney to get rid of all of this ideological nonsense because it's costing them money. Supposedly,
because they lost billions on Star Wars. Marvel kind of got into some hot water with Captain Marvel.
Yeah. So supposedly
when they did that, and from what last I heard, Brie Larson is now off. Yeah. She's gone.
Yeah, they lost money on like you were saying, the Star Wars franchise. We're seeing a lot of positive feedback, a lot of fans returning or whatever. Is not only did they lose money on the film, they lost money on the theme park that they opened to go along with the new trilogy.
The theme park, the toys.
Edge. Yeah, it's toy sales.
Even George Lucas, who had like the vast majority of toy production, is just pissed.
Yeah.
Because he should have been making some bank. I mean, he's had one of the most world-renowned series or IPs out there, and then 3 years and tanked it.
Yeah.
I would be a pretty pissed off.
So the other thing is, even though Captain Marvel supposedly earned $1 billion at the box office, there's a lot of, theory, kind of maybe tinfoil, maybe more deerstalker cap, but there's probably a very good indicator that Disney ended up buying a lot of those seats. And so more than likely they did not make money on Captain Marvel. That's the going theory.
No, there's an absolute push for that.
Yeah.
Dude, just from Rotten Tomatoes, which was a massive uh, a bank for people to go to and check on movie reviews, went and bombed, or not bombed, but stripped off tens of thousands of reviews and comments.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those, yeah, pre-movies, so I could see having some of that, but even after, just these mediocre statements. So I think Disney tried to spend a lot of money to cover up because it turned into an SJW movie.
Yeah.
So even though they claim to make that billion, like you're saying, I think they spent probably at least half of that on marketing cleanup.
Yeah, so I am thinking on that film, they either broke even or actually suffered a loss on it. I don't think so. All the other movies, they've been making money hand over fist, and that is the one where they're like, oh, yeah, we probably lost money on this. So, and also the more recent one was Mulan, which we don't know what the figures are from Disney Plus, which that's the ridiculous thing. You got to pay for the Disney Plus subscription and then $30 to view Mulan on top of that. That's
Whoa!
insane.
Wait! Whoa!
Yeah, it's $30
Why
to
the
watch
extra
Mulan.
30?
I don't
Is the
know.
30 a one-time viewing, or does that give you other content besides Mulan? What's
Nope.
the $30?
$30 just for Mulan. You can watch Mulan as if
No
you bought the
way!
DVD or something like
That's
that.
4 times the price of a movie ticket.
Yeah. So you
30.
pay $7 for Disney Plus. You pay $30 for Mulan. It's not any extra feature. It's not premium Disney Plus or something. No, it's just Mulan.
That's complete BS because you can go buy like brand new movies when they just come out and they're released on DVD, $25.
Yeah.
Who pays $30 to watch a movie? Nobody.
I have no idea.
What a
So,
terrible decision.
I don't know how many people actually bought that, but maybe we'll never know because Disney may not ever release those figures. But the other figure that came out this week is in China, 23 million. What? wait, China? 20
That's
million? Like,
terrible. That's like you would have been better off just not releasing it ever. Yeah, 23 million is an embarrassment for releasing a big movie like that in China off of Disney.
Yeah, the other thing is
that's a massive loss if that's what they're claiming.
Yeah, they got rid of characters, namely Mushu and oh man, I'm drawing a blank. To the captain guys.
Wait, the captain's gone?
Yeah.
Why? I thought his dynamic, along with Mulan and the other 3 main characters, was like that's what was built Mulan. That was the whole movie.
It's Shang-Chen, right?
I can't remember his name. I just remember him as the no shirt captain guy.
Yeah, no shirt captain guy. So Mushu and him are both out of the film. There's no Mushu comic relief. I guess there are, the other guys that are part of the crew kind of are supposed to be the comic relief. I don't know. I didn't watch the film. I'm not paying $30 for it. But so the other thing is they didn't make it a musical, and they also made Mulan have super fighting powers. I don't know if you saw the honest trailers.
Oh yeah, I just watched that.
Yeah, so all of the good things from the original are gone, and now you've got this other crap, and then you didn't even make it.
I mean, that had I will say at least three amazing songs like that. Let's Get Down to Business song where they're all training and fighting.
I'll make a
That's an awesome song. The one where they're singing about like food and what they all wished for when they finally got out of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Super hilarious, incredibly relatable. And then the one from Aguilera, I don't know what that was, but where she's examining herself as a woman. Awesome song.
Yeah. Really
powerful. Why would they not just... They remade the Beauty and the Beast. They were like remade the songs from all the others. Why did they not do that?
That I have no... I guess it was to appeal to Chinese audiences, and everything they did to appeal to Chinese audiences failed.
Yeah, probably. Well, at least from the small clips I saw on the honest trailers, it looked like Once Upon in China 7. Like just I couldn't even tell that was Mulan. It was just, is this? Why is she
Yeah.
flip kicking spears through people's chests? When did that ever happen?
I don't know, and
Because
that
I
kind
thought the
of
whole story about Mulan is she was trying to replace her dad and turned it out to be the worst troop when she got there. Nobody liked her, and she had to work extra hard while everyone else was sleeping in their tents. She's trying to figure out how to climb the pole. And because she worked hard and because she did all these things, ended up finally being accepted and turned out to be just as equivalent of a troop. I mean, if you're wanting to do girl
yeah.
empowerment, that how much of a better message can you get?
And there's the other aspect of that is in situations where she was physically overpowered, she used her mind. Like the so there's the when she's actually climbing the pole, she's got I've got these two weights. Oh, wait a minute. She throws them around the back of the pole and starts using them to help
Yeah,
herself up there. It's like, okay, that was an ingenious way to get around that. And had
brains
you
on
just tried
top
it,
of hard
yeah,
work and diligence.
yeah. And then
Great combination.
the other incident is where she's got the firework or the cannon, and instead of aiming it at the Huns like everybody's telling her to do, she aims it at the mountain, cause the avalanche. I'm like, yeah, that you were overwhelmed by a force, and you used your superior, you used your mind to overcome the situation. That's yeah, that's a good message. No, that's all out the window. She, ever since she was a little girl, she was always able to just beat anybody up for no reason. Okay, all right, done watching that film.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the movies, but from that trailer, I'm kind of wondering what they're talking about. Like, so was she just an
Yeah,
amazing fighter, just always,
yeah. There was a scene that
and something about a
um
lot of tea?
yeah Lauren Chin had a video clip on hers where Mulan is like 8 or 9 or something like that, and is parkouring down the side of a building, and you're like, yeah, that's I'm done.
See, I like the parkour thing, and I think it's getting a little bit
Oh, it
overdone in
was
Hollywood.
it was all
The one
wire work
area where
silly
I'm
stuff.
hoping they don't F this up is in Black Widow, because that would be the only slightly believable where you've got young girls who have been trained since their infancy on being
Yeah,
assassins. So then I could see that being believable. Hopefully they don't turn that into like a whole woman power thing. The trailers look pretty decent.
hmm
I don't think that's out yet, right? Isn't that like a
it
November movie or something?
yeah, it is not. It is. I think they were trying to get it in theaters, but they may end up releasing it on Disney Plus, and hopefully it's not $30 like Mulan. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's not released yet. If it is, it'll likely be on Disney Plus, or they're trying to delay it until they can actually get it out in theaters. But yeah, I don't know.
I think Disney's gonna ruin even more if they hijack prices like that and
Yeah,
just put this exorbitant fee out to watch one film. I think the best thing they could do is offer a couple up front, and I understand they may come out of pocket initially, but if they start putting movies that are in the subscription, more likely you're going to keep your subscription, and then with the further MCU, shows they're supposed to come out with, if they're done right, if they can put it along the same lines of the production quality of Mandalorian, or at least
mm-hmm.
keep with the source material and not stray off in the weird la la SJW land, they're going to make hand over fist on their streaming service. I'll just cancel Netflix and switch to Disney Plus entirely
Yeah, so
if
that's
they
the
do
other
that.
thing is so right now Disney Plus is like $7 a month. I don't know if that's an introductory fee or something like that. But rather than doing $30 for new releases sort of things, I would be okay if they just up the rate to like $12 a month or $10 a month or something in that range, and then you get access to these new films as they come out. Because right now, Disney doesn't have much on their streaming platform that's worth the $7 fee. Like I said,
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
unfortunately, because it's
Yeah,
stuff we've all already seen. I
yeah,
mean, you get all of these classics, but I think I've seen every Disney cartoon in the golden age like 15 times over.
yeah,
I'm not gonna pay monthly to rewatch or to just pretend I can rewatch them
yeah,
when I'm not actually going to.
yeah. And so until WandaVision comes out, until Winter Soldier, and actually I'm not sure what the name of that
Like
show is.
Captain Falcon and Winter
Yeah,
Soldier or
Captain
something
Falcon,
like that.
Soldier, and there's also a Loki series. until those
Yeah.
come out, all Disney has right now as far as goods, I mean, they might have other stuff for kids. I don't know. The only one that I've seen on there that was like, ooh, that was worth the money was Mandalorian. Everything else on there, the original stuff is just kind of meh. Bunch of boring,
That one.
silly, stupid movies.
So I did watch that. I did watch that series. Uh, so I kind of binged it just to get through it. Much better than the recent Star Wars movies. There are a couple of things that I'm a little worried about on that, and I hope they fix it. So there was like it looks like they've got multiple directors, and I've seen that through a lot of different shows, and that's great. I'm just hoping they keep good continuity, because there are some times where it feels like this episode did lead in, like the first 2 or 3 episodes all felt one after the another.
Yeah.
But then there was one episode that I was watching. It's like a prison break.
Yeah.
That did not feel like that. I liked it, and Bill Burr was in there, and I was like, dude, and he had a couple of.
Yeah. So I did like that episode, but it felt out of sync with the rest of the series. It felt like almost like a different show. But Favreau and other people working on the show have come out and said the season 2 is much more linear in structure. And I was like, okay, so that's going to smooth out some of that. Like, well, this feels like a filler episode. Like, this could have gone anywhere in there, or it could have gone completely without showing up at all,
you could have skipped that episode entirely, and nothing would have changed. So nothing bad with the episode. Some of the lighting, it almost had a horror aspect in certain things. I liked it. It just didn't feel in the continuity with the rest. So if they keep at least a reason why the Mandalorian is protecting this baby Yoda and what else is coming about, and hopefully they take what is that guy's name? The chicken guy from Breaking Bad, right? So I think he's still there. Yeah, he popped up
he's the main bad guy.
Yeah. So as long as they keep him in it, they make him have a prominent part, like a constant chase and shifting around while different things are happening, some smart aspects. I'm fine if they want to shift directors and cinematographers and stuff, just a bit more continuity with story wise. Yeah. So Mandalorian, I would give like probably 7.5, 8 out of 10. Definitely entertaining, definitely worth an investment, definitely worth watching. Not 100%, but way better than I would rewatch any of those episodes multiple times versus any of the last 3 Star Wars movies. I didn't even finish the 3rd Star Wars one. I couldn't through it. What a ugh.
Yeah. So if Disney does the internal restructuring and starts delivering more content on their platform that makes the purchase price worth it, and also like even if they can increase their prices but also give you access to the new films as they come out. I mean, once everything goes back to out of COVID and you're actually released in theaters, I don't expect them to do that, but I do expect them to be like, okay, well, you get access to this film a week earlier compared to DVD sales or whatever because you bought into this Disney Plus or something along those lines. Would be like, yeah, that would make the price worth admission. And
if they jack the price up to even 12 or 14, because I think right now I'm paying like 14 to 16 for Netflix. Their anime selection has dropped quite a bit. Mm-hmm. You have the Avatar on there, but I've already seen it, and the Korra stuff, I've watched parts of it. But the recent movies are hit and miss. It's
Yeah. And as far as Netflix goes, for anything, I mean, you can do what you want. I may sail the 7 seas for anything that's exclusive to Netflix. That is my plan going forward. Not saying that you should do the same or anybody, but that's.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm probably gonna do, because the only series I'm currently interested in is Umbrella Academy and The Witcher.
Yeah.
And The Witcher sounds like it's still off, and the Umbrella Academy. As soon as I finish that, then it's not. It's probably gonna be another year or so. Yeah. Oh, there's one other season, or Lock and Key. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah. So it was decent. It's not quite at the level so The Witcher was like man, I gotta watch the next season. So Lock and Key, if they don't have another season, I'm kind of like, meh, no big deal. I would like to know how that resolves. Okay, so one of the more recent ones that unfortunately just came out after the Cutie controversy. Did you ever watch The Babysitter? Like a
Yes, I
comedy
saw a
horror?
second film. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, they just came out with the sequel, Killer Queen. So uh, I'm gonna have to find something that has that because I canceled my Netflix and I'm like, on principle, I'm not going back. Even though it doesn't officially end until October, on principle, I'm not going back just because I want to watch that film. But that is. Oh, yeah, we should get on to these other things. So it's almost 9 o'clock. Oh,
Discuss that
so
all.
yeah, so the rest of these are kind of yeah. So The Babysitter, really good horror comedy. Hopefully the sequel is as good. And one of these other clips is kind of along those same lines, but yeah, let's get to these other clips here real fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so actually, okay, so this is streaming for you, right?
So
Gavin McInnes.
yeah, since I got fired, well, I don't know how much I just explained. So I was deplatformed. I couldn't get on any social media and defend myself, and then I got fired. It was like a new thing every day. After October 12th, after that Otoya Yamaguchi thing, I was in the news every single day. Twitter trending every day, and that's not pleasant. You don't want that, especially your wife starts getting stressed out. She's getting calls from all these people. You worry about it affecting your kid's life, it's funny because I was reading this book, Hero of the Empire, about Churchill and the Boer War, and the English were losing against the Boers in South Africa. And then the Brits started attacking their women and children, and that's when they started winning. The left are like the Westies, where the Italian mafia had rules. You know, the Italian mafia doesn't shoot you if you're around your wife and kids, nor do Bloods and Crips. But the Westies, they didn't care about that. Same with I hear the Jamaican gangs. They'll just kill you whenever they. So the left is in those levels of morality. So that sucked.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fine financially, and I've been through this a million times. You know, I was pushed out of Vice. I lost my ad agency when I said trannies are mentally ill gays. So losing my job is nothing new. In fact, I was skiing with my son, and he was getting discouraged, and he was on a snowboard, and he was just learning, and he wanted to go to skis. And he goes, I don't want to do this anymore. Why can't you're on skis? Why can't I switch to skis? And I said, McInnes's don't quit. McInnes's get fired. So you can switch to skis if your snowboard fires you. I'm usually used to getting a laugh for that, but okay. This isn't about me. What concerns me is what is happening to free speech in America. I mean, that's why I'm suing the SPLC, is because people are losing their voices, and that doesn't bode well. Remember the pressure cooker at the Boston Marathon? It didn't have any valves to let it loose. It didn't have any steam to give off. It exploded. And that's where I feel like America is going. It's getting to Civil War levels. And if Trump wins again, you better be on a boat or something, because the left doesn't take losing very well.
All right. Yeah, so that's kind of, so I was like, oh, that's a nice little update. So this goes on for a little bit longer, but I was like, oh, man, yeah, okay. So he's suing the SPLC because they cost him, they cost him his platforms. He's, another name on the list of, pour one out for your homies who got kicked off all social media platforms. And I mean, I guess there are clips from McInnes going around on YouTube, but they're not from his official channel because that got shut down as well. And all of his content is now on his own site, but he's kind of off by himself. Like, at least Ben Shapiro has the Daily Wire and all those guys, and Crowder has the Blaze and stuff like that. But McInnes is kind of on an island for himself.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the terrible problems that I see with Gavin McInnes. He's always been controversial, and in fact, in some of his earlier career, he was extremely just kind of that left rebellion, kind of going against the conservative stronghold on things in his earlier career.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always been a controversial figure. He started the Proud Boys as just a way to be proud Americans, as a group that was simply supposed to be a protesting group, just like they've got on the left, just to say, hey, we'd just like to protest and say we like this system, we like the way things are. Mm-hmm. But when was that? Now, Seattle, when the Proud Boys got into a bit of a street fight with some of Antifa members. And then from that moment, he got shut down from everything, was blamed for all of it, even though, from video evidence, the Proud Boys didn't actually start anything. They were attacked. 2 of them went to jail.
Yeah, and
were looked at as domestic terrorists, while the Antifa group, who started everything, about a year later just went on and said, well, now we're going to take over 6 city blocks.
Yeah.
While he's stuck outsourced or ostracized from the rest of the social media platform. It's garbage.
Yeah. So the other thing about
the dude
that
got
situation,
a mouth and said,
so the 2 guys who went to jail were white, but there was 3 people arrested during that scuffle. 2 of them were white. One of them has a black wife and mixed children, and the other defendant was a black person. They put the 2 white guys together in the same trial, and the black man had his own individual trial and was found not guilty.
Yeah.
What?
Well, he strikes me as like a George Carlin type, where George Carlin, he didn't get too much into politics per se. He wasn't necessarily declaring, hey, you need to believe Democrats or you need to believe Republicans. He just kind of called BS where it was. That's where I see Gavin McInnes as one of those type of figures. And sometimes, yeah, you would find his rhetoric or his speech a bit controversial, maybe not quite to your liking, but at no point was he ever like doing what he's talking here, attacking families, trying to get people off of platforms, trying to strip people down in social status, isolate them, get them kicked out of society. And yet through all that, that's what ended up happening to him, just for speaking his mind and having an opinion. It's terrible.
Yeah. And so hope he has good luck on his lawsuits. I don't think he's ever going to get back on social media because of them, but there's new social media platforms coming out, and hopefully one of these will take off, and that'll become the replacement for the old guard. All right, but enough on that. That was, you got to fight for your right to post memes, and that's not a literal fight, but a figurative fight in court. But so the next couple of things are just kind of cool things. But this is the Paul Revere.
There's something happening to me.
Oh,
There's something
I
awakening
saw that.
in my mind. I can't control it.
What did you see?
There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
I am really hoping this comes out good.
The test is simple.
It looks good.
Remove your hand from the box.
The visuals look amazing.
What's in the box?
Pain. You inherit too much power. You have proven you can rule yourself. Now you must learn to rule others. Something none of your ancestors learned.
My father rules an entire planet.
He's losing it.
He's getting a richer one.
He'll lose that one too. Arrakis is a death trap.
I'll kill him. This is an extermination. They're picking my family off one by one.
Let's fight like demons.
An animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do?
I'm gonna pause the trailer. Yeah, that looks so good.
See, this was one of those weird movies where I remember watching it as a kid. and it was so weird. It was like even weirder than Star Wars. Just like, what the crap is going on? But I do remember the music being amazing, just the atmosphere, the visuals, everything about the story was just like, what is this? And it had this dark presence about it, but while still fighting for something that is good. And it's so hard to pinpoint because there's, I know South Park did a parody with like, was it Peyton Manning's crap or something? And there's all those whispering scenes in the older movie where people are just like whispering and kind of, it was like anime except for live action anime
Yeah,
where they're all whispering in their heads.
Monologue is whispered.
Yeah, the spice. And it was odd, but it just built this incredible atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping this new movie does it justice. Hopefully they don't. I'm really hoping they have a lot of action, but don't go overboard to where it's entirely action, because a lot of what made this story amazing was it's also a political battle similar to Game of Thrones, but maybe not as 8 seasons long politics. But that's kind of the story, is these different houses vying for what could be the future of the universe. And the visuals are awesome. I am probably gonna miss the music. I remember a lot of when the sandworms came out, and or there was like that sandworm. Yeah, I don't know if there's spoilers for anybody who could be watching this. Eventually, there's a sandworm army, and it's pretty spectacular. And there was just this blazing 80s synth track that was amazing.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think you can have spoilers for the film because this is the third time this series has been put to film, with the first one being not Cronenberg, right? No, what's no, the guy who did Twin Peaks. That's not Cronenberg. That is
No, man. The instant you said it, I had a flash of a name and now it's gone.
I'm drawing a blank on the name. Yeah, so the original Dune, whatever, was put to film. It had Patrick Stewart in it, and the guy who played Q from or not Q, what's his Al from Quantum Leap. But
yeah.
Anyway, that film was already out there. That was
David Lynch.
Man, Lynch.
Why? Yeah.
I was starting to look it up too. I'm like, man, I can't think of the guy.
I had to Google it. It was right there on the tip of my brain.
Yeah. David Lynch. Yeah, but so he's got a. So apparently, I like that film. That is hands down my favorite sci-fi film. I like it more than Blade Runner.
I would put it above the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars, but this was like Star Wars if it turned into a noir dark mystery sci-fi or something. It was just all over the place and like crazy characters. Sting's character, the floating fat man. You're just like, oh, what is happening?
Yeah.
That weird blob thing that later they adopted in what's that bug movie? Starship Troopers. Like their brain bug looked like a copy of this spice entity that could transverse the universe. It's just all over the place. And whereas Star Wars looked like it had a lot of things, related to like Valeria, and there was this took more of, rather than laser fights and shooting, like survival espionage. It was like if Game of Thrones and Star Wars combined.
Yeah, it was much more cerebral, but like a lot more. I shouldn't say a lot more quotable, because Star Wars is pretty quotable, mostly thanks to Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what my original thing for this is fear is the mind killer. But then after I started doing song titles, I was like, oh, well, I can't really do fear is the mind killer as a song title. But I don't remember why we watched this as kids, because it's not really a kids
movie.
Whereas Star Wars is kind of, you could okay, Yeah, that's for general audiences. This was a little older, but man, I
It
remember
was
watching this.
darker.
Yeah.
It was darker, man. It had, like his mom ended up getting assassinated, his dad ended up getting assassinated, his little sister became like this creepy priestess that had to play along
My
between these different
brother's
facts.
coming for you,
It
Barry.
was like
Man.
weird.
Yeah.
All these bald nuns with magic powers that inflict pain and protect whatever and order and
Yeah.
trying to find a true ruler. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is awesome. So the other adaptation was on Sci-Fi Channel, and so it is as opposed to so David Lynch's was not it steered steered pretty far away from the books apparently. Like I don't know, I haven't read the books. It's on my bucket list to maybe read the Dune book. But for everybody else is like, oh, even according to David Lynch, he was like, yeah, I shouldn't have directed this film. This is not a film that
I disagree.
I think it was
I was actually
fantastic.
watching a
But,
YouTube comparison where they were talking about some of the original story with Dune, and that it's a much more expansive than what was even in that movie. Like, there's an entire universe of all kinds of stuff going on.
yeah,
But the atmosphere I think he applied made this intriguing, because if you just read it out in the book, it would have sounded like kind of just your standard sci-fi flair that was out when this movie came out, like early 80s. I don't remember when books came out, 70s, 60s.
Earlier than that.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm thinking 40s.
Oh, was it like during like the John Carter and like that whole like
I think so.
the Pulp Fiction novels and stuff, everyone was competing on the next sci-fi adventure, because that's a kind of when Valeria started to come out as well.
Yeah, I think it was around the same time as that. This is one of the like the old school sci-fi stories.
Yeah, I know this is older than Lucas, like way older, but his approach to it I thought was amazing, and it looks like they're wanting to apply that with this this dark overtone of everything.
So this looks like a mix between the sci-fi cheapy, boring, man, these guys can't act, and the original. Like stylistically, it looks closer towards David Lynch's version of it, but apparently this is closer to the book series, and also this is broken into two different parts. So what David Lynch said after directing the Dune, the original, he said it should have been a trilogy as opposed to trying to cram everything into one film. So
I could see that. It's very
compromise between the two. As okay, we're not making it a full-on trilogy. We're telling the story in two parts. And so there's Dune, and then there'll be a sequel, probably. Maybe it'll be named after the second book, but it's still all of the elements in both films will be taken from the first book. So this is only the first half. I don't know how much of that, where exactly this is going to end. It might just end whenever he creates the army, and maybe there's a battle at the end or whatever, and that's where it'll cut off before the full-on takeover of the planet. So
I would guess for a good cliffhanger transition, you're probably pretty close. So he does like a ceremony to kind of transcend into being the one in conjunction with the spice or something like that, where he gains the ability that these other higher beings have, and a lot of people didn't think it's possible. What do they call him, Muad'Dib or something like that, where he gains that title? I think it'll be right around there, where it would almost be like the ending of the first Matrix, where you just realize the dude gained some immense power. Now let's see what happens to shift the tides.
Yeah, so
I'm down for that.
I think the whole worm army and stuff will probably not show up until the second film.
Yep. Well, I mean, even in this trailer, the worm shows up for the last like 5 seconds or something.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, dude, that's I don't. At first, I was kind of like, I hope they don't show it because they leave it to the imagination for the actual film. But then when you actually see it, you're like, ooh, that looks good. All right. Yeah. You're like, I am not disappointed. So it's kind of mixed. That I'm glad it's there because it would feel kind of you're like, maybe it would be like, ooh, what? How are they gonna do the worms? Is it gonna be like Scorpion King CG? Anyway, no, this
It looks surprisingly the original film. Whatever they did for those scenes with the worms, it holds up well.
Yeah, the special effects in that hold up much better than the original special effects in Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is praised for its special effects, but man, like watching some of the earlier films, I understand why they remastered them. And I'm like, yeah, but the remaster's not worth it because George Lucas went over.
Yeah, this one, I think the only thing that could use a bit of remastering is like the shield boxes or the personal shields, and when they're flying some of the ships into cities that have force fields.
Yeah, the force
The
fields.
rest of it, man, it's been spot on. Just looks, it just keeps the atmosphere.
Yeah. And that was one of the first things I noticed in the trailer. I was like, oh, that looks cool. That's a cool effect. Yeah. Was the personal shields. I'm like, man, that's like, yeah, the first one I'm just kind of like, it's so bad. But anyway, that movie is one I will go back to and rewatch a bunch. All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna rewatch it before this first one comes out. It's one of my favorites. Just growing up, it's hard to even explain why, man. I don't know. It's just all over the place, and it's
kind of like Dark City, where like I don't remember how we ended up watching that as kids, but
I just watched Dark City a month ago.
Man, I cannot
I love that
believe
movie.
how underappreciated that film is, and like because I mentioned it to other people, and they're like, "What film?" And I'm like, "Dude, that film was amazing."
Yeah,
Right.
it was like America's first attempt to almost approach anime ideals like Akira or something like that, and actually portray it well on screen. And that was an entire year before The Matrix was even released.
Mm-hmm.
So The Matrix was awesome. Dark City, I wouldn't equate them to be the same. They're just both different and equally awesome in their own regard.
Yeah. But it's amazing how many people have never heard of Dark City or didn't watch it. I'm like, dude, what? It's up there with The Matrix as far as rewatchability and awesomeness.
Movie I put that Rufus dude in, Rufus Sewell, because he was like in A Knight's Tale and a couple other movies, and pretty decent actor. He does his job. He does good.
I'm pretty sure Dark City was before A Knight's Tale.
But Dark City, I'm like, yeah, that's the Dark City guy.
Yeah, that's the Dark City guy.
Yeah, it was. But everything I see him in, he's the Dark City guy, because it was awesome.
Yeah. All right. So it is after 9 o'clock. We're a little bit overboard, and then I got one final clip here.
Good morning. That's me, Millie. Ordinary, boring Millie.
I love your dress. I think I saw it at Discount Bonanza.
Okay, so I was never the most popular.
Homecoming's this weekend. Booker is gonna be at the dance.
And boys never really noticed me. Honestly, if this was a horror movie, I'd be one of the first ones to get killed.
Cue the creepy dude in the mask.
Like I said. But actually, it turns out...
Where am I?
I didn't get killed.
Oh my god, why do I sound like that?
I woke up in the killer's body.
The Blissfield Butcher strikes again.
Don't freak out.
You're black! I'm gay! We are so dead!
Ow! Will you stop? It's me, it's Millie! Hail, Blissfield, high, feel our glory and our might.
Okay, I'm not gonna play the full trailer.
Oh, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Is that the girl from the Pokemon movie?
I don't know. I didn't see Pokemon. Trying to think of what she's
Really?
from. She's from. I remember she's from a character from the Supernatural series, but
Or not the Pokemon movie, Detective Pikachu, the Ryan Reynolds one.
yeah, I didn't see the Detective Pikachu.
I'd recommend. I think you'll like it.
She was the daughter.
But I think that's
from
her.
Daughter from the second Jack Reacher. Again, I don't know if she's
I
been in
doubt.
anything else, but. Yeah.
But yeah, so she looks like the girl from Detective Pikachu or that Post Malone, the Goodbye music video.
I don't know. Not familiar with that either. Anyway, from the director of, and I mentioned this film earlier, didn't I? Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
Maybe I mentioned The Babysitter, but the Happy Death Day is kind of like what it's like. It's a good genre of horror comedy, and so similar to Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day was a little meh, but it was a good concept. It's like, all right, we're just gonna take Groundhog's Day and mix that with a horror, killer movie, and it works. It works really well.
Kind of like a subversive horror.
Yeah, and this is
versus
kind of
standard trope.
This is kind of a similar thing. It's like, we're just gonna take Freaky Friday and mix that with a slasher film, and it's like it works.
Well, that's really weird. Have the Vince Vaughn in there, Norman Bates running around.
Terrible remake, but Vince Vaughn is a good actor. So, yeah, I'm like, saw this trailer. I was like, dude, that looks pretty good. All right.
Twinkle, twinkle, yo. Twinkle, twinkle.
Dude.
What an underrated movie.
Yeah. Usually when you do a monologue, it's from one person. And usually you choose a role that's a man's role. Dude, The Rock was amazing in that.
Dude, yeah. His cowboy outfits.
All right. Yep. So that was the ending clip. I was like, man. So a couple good things to look forward to as far as films. 2020 can't be all that bad, but nah. There
I'm hoping that at least some part of Hollywood starts getting off of this ideological trip and trying to put these terrible messages and just starts coming out with movies that people just want to see. Yeah, I just want to go to see a film on Friday.
Yeah, and so that's
there were so many like mediocre and decent and okay movies over the last 20 years that would top a lot of the garbage that's come out in the last 5. It's just, yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So while I'm thinking about it, so there was that one mention is like, oh, you're black and I'm gay. We're going to be the first to die. That if you're going to put like the SJW-ish messages in a film, that's how you do it. You do it as a joke. And there's also
so they had some of that kind of like in the original Scream, where that subversiveness, where he's like, "Hey, I'm the token guy who knows what's going on. That means I'm probably gonna be the first one to die." What is it?
Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah, Jamie Kennedy's character, his character. So I mean, if you do those tropes right, they can be played off pretty funny, and still, you can actually subvert those type of tropes by even carrying those characters towards the end, and then even bringing it along on the second half and saying, "Oh, I guess not." There's plenty of ways to go about that to keep it entertaining without like heavy-handing a message that everyone's like, tired of hearing it.
Yeah. And you can see when it's done in a better film when they're like, yeah, they make a joke out of it, or they make it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it, sort of thing, as opposed to, man, I'm being preached at about this nonsense again.
Yeah.
I didn't put the film on so I could be preached at for 90 minutes. All right, well, that's all I had for this week. I'm sure there's other stuff in the news, but either it wasn't, I didn't think it was important, or I didn't catch it. So, but
I'll say the only probably recent thing that could be worth discussing. So Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah.
Put a. Well, I don't know if it was Joe Rogan. I think it was somebody who Joe Rogan was on a podcast and said, "I'd love to host a 4-hour debate just between Trump, just between Biden, nobody else. We just film it, broadcast it, and let's just have a debate." And Trump's like, "Yep, sounds good. I'll do it."
Yeah, that was the thing, is that's what He could have just made that proclamation or whatever, just posted that on Twitter, but Trump responded to it within hours. And now Biden's got nothing. That is...
Yeah, like, who would like to see that? And Trump's like, I do.
Yeah, now Biden campaign is trying to play
yeah, whoever was watching that actually originally, maybe it was the Quartering or somebody who brought that up, but they're the ones that had the picture of that bus that said, man, I'm gonna have to find that picture because it's probably a meme and not an actual bus, but it was something along the lines of just accept Biden or tolerate Biden, or it was something like that. But it was hilarious because it was like very unemphatic. It was more of just try Biden. Just give him a shot. Poor old Joe. And lately he's talking about being reelected. And everyone's like, dude, you were never president.
Yes, just stop presenting, and now all the thumbnails for your and my pictures are all off.
Oh yeah, something shifted over here.
Yeah. Let me see if I go back, if that puts... Yeah, okay. Alright.
But yeah, I would say it seems to be the only thing of recent note is just that I think a lot of people are kind of looking to a debate just because that is part of the standard election cycle, and the Democrats are trying everything they can to prevent any type of debate whatsoever from any major news. Like, CNN does a debate. How bad is that? You got a candidate that can't actually speak their platform.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that was on the news was somebody from Biden's campaign was on Fox News, and they were asking if Biden was reading off of a teleprompter during interviews, and he's like, "Oh, that's just a talking point from the Trump campaign." And then Brett Baer.
That one. What was that one where he got handed a picture and he picked it up, and I think it was about his son Hunter or something, and you could see the glare of the teleprompter in the picture.
Yeah.
Like it was right there. And this was during the Q&A portion, so what was there on the teleprompter?
And there's a couple others. There's one where he says, bring it up. Like somebody asks him a question, and then he's like, yeah, bring it up a bit. Or something like that. It's like, or there was another time where he's like, yeah, go back. And it's like, wait, who's he talking to? The guy who's asking him the question? No, obviously he's talking to whoever is doing the teleprompter.
The teleprompter. Yeah, and then there was that ordeal. It was, I don't know, I guess a week and a half ago, and they handed out scripts or questions for everyone to ask in the audience. And the one lady is like, I was handed the script and I was told stick to these questions, but I can't do it. I mean, even someone who was a Democrat supporter and showed up for him was like, I just can't do this. Because no one should do that.
Yeah.
If you're running for president, you should be willing to debate and speak your platform.
Yeah, because
your constituents should be able to ask you questions, even if they're leading towards something or even if they're of benefit. At least they've got something to ask that wasn't plugged into their own mouths.
Yeah, because imagine a situation where he goes over to North Korea and he's like, no, read the questions and the talking points I gave you, so that way I can respond. Or like when he's talking with Putin, wait, that's not on the list. Going through cue cards, that's not on here. That wasn't supposed to come up in this meeting.
Yeah, can we pause this impromptu debate till we get the right questions and answers? What is happening?
Yeah. I don't know, but it's funny, and I don't think the Joe Rogan hosted debate is going to happen. But the fact that
I doubt it.
Trump
but
was like,
man,
sure, I'm game. Biden's got
the funny thing is, Joe Rogan is left leaning, has always been,
he supports
his
Bernie
podcast
Sanders.
has been around for a couple of years now, and he was just generally accepted as kind of that middle platform. Anybody could go on and discuss whatever, because he's had Twitter CEO, what's that guy's name?
Jack Dorsey.
Dorsey, and his there was another lady with Jack at the same time. He's had so many prominent people on there just to actually have discussion, and he's kind
Bernie
of
Sanders. He's had Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, and Alex Jones. Steven Crowder's been on there.
Ben Shapiro's been on there a couple of times. He's not particular. He just wants to discuss, and then he's the type of guy that will just speak his mind. Even if you're on his show, he's not going to sit there and just agree with you, but he just talk. I don't agree with everything Joe Rogan has to say, but his approach is awesome. It's just open, and it allows for discussion, and he'll say what his thoughts are, and then allow you to speak, and just carries on. And it's Hollywood celebrities. It's just all over the place, and yet now all of a sudden, Joe Rogan is the enemy of the left. And this is only within the last couple of weeks. What just shifted?
No, because he started talking about Joe Biden, started questioning Joe Biden's mental health, and then it's like, oh, how dare you, Joe?
But Joe doesn't even stick around for questions anymore. He'll do a speech and then leave. I just saw, was it Michigan? I think it was Michigan, where he was pulling up in a motorcade. He was riding in the ambulance, and the only people standing outside were Trump supporters.
Wait, he was
they
riding
said
in the ambulance?
zero. Yeah, that was the vehicle he was in. Not that he had any medical issues, but that's what he arrived in. He wasn't in the limo or the Hummers or the SUV. He was in the ambulance.
Was that a...
And then the crowd outside was only Trump supporters. So the only people who came to that event, 100% Trump supporters. Zero Biden supporters out there. Zero. Not a single one to be seen.
I haven't seen that, but I've got to look at... Dude, that is insane.
Yeah.
Imagine going to a Trump rally and seeing more Biden signs than Trump signs. Like, even if it wasn't the entire crowd, if you can spot the Trump supporters in a Biden crowd, that's like, yeah, they should be a small subsection or little guys on it, not the majority. Man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, all right.
Where was that? That was just in the last week or so. I'll have to find that article, but yeah, he pulled into something, I believe it was Michigan, and there was a crowd of about 30 to 40 Trump supporters with banners saying 4 more years. And those were the only people that showed up.
Yeah, and so as far as the ambulance thing, that's also... Was that a tactical decision? Was that, like, for safety? Like, oh, they'll never expect him in the ambulance.
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen a motorcade with an ambulance in it. I don't know why it was there. But it was just reported that's a out of.
I have, and the last time there was a motorcade with an ambulance was Hillary Clinton when she collapsed at the motorcade. Right. There was an ambulance in that motorcade, and she collapsed, and they threw her in the back of the van. And you're like, were they expecting some kind of health complications, or is it normal for there to be an ambulance in a motorcade? And as far as I could tell, that was the thing that started sometime during her campaign. It wasn't there at the beginning, and I don't know if it was there towards the end either. But yeah, so that was kind of like the people started noticing, like, wait a minute, there's an ambulance in this motorcade. Is that normal? So supposedly, or yeah, apparently. It's hard to tell if it's normal or not, but most motorcades do not.
Yeah, what? I don't know. But from the reports I saw on it, that's the vehicle he climbed out of arriving.
That's bizarre.
I don't know if it was the same campaign spot, but there was another clip within the last week or so where he got done with his speech, took no questions, walked off in the wrong direction. You can see all his staff saying, this way, and he, like, walked in the opposite direction, and then walked to his truck and just started, like, staring in the window, looking around, and then walked off behind it, because it was just a random person's truck. Like, nobody knows what he was looking at. It wasn't his. It's just what is happening, and so I think at this point the Democrats don't actually have a candidate. I think Joe is not.
Well, they do. I mean, you heard her earlier, Kamala Harris administration with Joe Biden as president.
It's not even going to be her administration. Whoever Joe's puppeteers are at the moment are the ones that are going to be whispering in his ear until they decide he's incompetent and has to be from office. And then it'll be a Kamala Harris a presidency or administration. With
them, you know,
I think most Democrats don't even want to vote for Joe or not even going to show up. And then there are a lot of reports of if Trump wins, there's going to be more violence and riots. And the only way to get past that is people need to vote for Joe just so that way we don't have more violence and riots.
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to deter anybody from voting? That's the exact reason why everyone's voting.
That's a bizarre sentiment. It's like, well, even if you win, you're going to lose. So you might as well just let us win.
It sounds like mafia safety payments. You just pay your dues, and you know you don't have to worry about anything that could potentially happen to your cafe. It's what it sounds like, a bit of extortionism.
Yeah.
Except for it's from a bunch of whiny baby.
Yeah, but it's the sentiment like, well, either Biden gets in charge and you get a bunch of policies that you don't want, or Trump gets in charge and then we burn everything down. It's like, well, where's the winning? How do you win in this scenario? Well, you don't. You just don't. Yeah,
you don't. But just vote our way because that's all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bully tactic.
All right. So it is after 9:30. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream there. Thanks to anybody who actually showed up. I don't see anybody in the chat, and anybody who ends up watching this, thanks for joining the stream and checking us out. And we will be back next Tuesday, hopefully at 7 p.m. That's the or Eastern time. That's the plan. All right, and see you next Tuesday.